Can you hear me now? I think we are live. A lot easier than last week. So, wow, we got 11 people on the live already. I actually jumped over here. I saw some of your previous comments and your questions. I can actually see all the way back. Someone actually commented still 20 minutes before the live. So that's kind of interesting, scheduling a live. I've never actually tried that before these last few times. Let's see. Canis MC. Hopefully he will still see my comment when he goes live. Yes, I can see your comment. What is going on? Not Leo Exotics. What's up, Reese's Pythons? All right. Let's see. Been sub for yours. Awesome. All right, let's see. So Canis MC. Hi, Chris. Just added a bamboo to my collection today. Purchased a 250 gram male Enchi Yellow Belly. Nice. That is pretty cool. So it's a bamboo Enchi Yellow Belly. That's an interesting combination. You should go with the. It'd be interesting to go take that snake and breed it to an asphalt and try to make like a bamboo Mardi Gras, which would be pretty awesome with that thing. All right, let's see. Oh, we got a new fan. Thank you, James Boyd. Nice. All right, you can actually see the fans in the comments. They actually have a little icon next to their name if they actually join the channel. Thank you. All right, Aaron O'Reilly, what do you think of the scaleless? I'm definitely into the scaleless. So I actually have two Lemon Blast females that are scaleless head, and then I have a scaleless head male lesser. Hoping to breed them this year. Hopefully next year I'll actually hit some scaleless. I was actually at a reptile show just the other day, and they had a scaleless there for $3,000. Which is kind of crazy. I think kind of the big thing right now is everyone's kind of wondering if the female scaleless will actually lay eggs. And from what I heard, I was actually talking to that guy at the reptile show, and he said someone did have a female scaleless that laid eggs, one of the first ones. You know, the project's not really that mature, so the more mature the project kind of moves along. And I think once people start, you know, having the female scaleless start laying eggs, then it'll really pick up steam. But right now, I think there's a lot of hesitancy to see if there's any issues with the scaleless, and hopefully there won't be. I think everyone's kind of shell shocked from the desert, you know, because the desert females have a problem laying eggs. All right, what's up? Wow, lots of comments. All right, Reese's, what's up? Let's see, Rob M. Hope you had fun at the show yesterday. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. There was not a lot of vendors, not a lot of people, but there was really awesome animals there. And I got to meet a lot of people. It was a pretty good show. It was pretty awesome. All right, Flow Grow Reptiles. Love watching you. All right. Let's see. What's up, Matthew? Kintia, what's up? Let's see. Aaron, what's up, Bobby? Let's see. Declan. How many grams should a 1-year-old female ball python be? It depends on how much they eat. You know, sometimes the females can grow really fast, and sometimes they can be pretty stubborn. I've had females grow almost to breeding size within a year, and sometimes it takes 3 years to get to the same size. It really depends on the female. So if you're lucky, I'd say pretty much on average, I'd say anywhere from 800 to 900 grams after the first year, and that's usually when they hit the 1,000-gram wall, and sometimes they can fast for a long time. All right, what's up, Travis? LKB, is Bobby still breeding? No, Bobby is out of the rotation. He's been replaced by multi-gene bamboos. Gives me a little bit more variety, because I still have a lot of normal females. And if I breed Bobby to a normal, then I end up with a bunch of normals and a bunch of bamboos. So at least I want something else in there with the bamboo. It gives me some better odds. All right, let's see. Ireland. If I breed, if I breed my pastel lesser to my normal female, any idea what I could get? Yes. You would get pastels, you would get lessers. you would get more pastel lessers, and you would get normals if you breed it to a normal, because both of them are co-dominant. Looks like we had a super chat. All right. Thank you, Chance Spector. Love your YouTube channel. Thank you for inspirational stuff. Sure. All right. 40 people on the live already. Wow. In the first 5 minutes. All right. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know if I can read all the questions. There's there's a lot of them. All right. I'm already getting way behind. All right, let's see. I have a super pastel, super enchy, hidden gene woma het clown. What could I breed to that to push the project forward? Ah, yeah. So if you bred it to a clown or a het clown, everything would be a pastel, enchy, and half of them would be hidden gene woma, which would be pretty cool. Let's see. Let's see, if I breed Helios to my male normal, what will I get? It depends which Helios you have. I think this was the last Helios. There's been like quite a few Helios. If I can actually remember, that was, you have to remind me what Helio was as far as the genes in that one. But yeah, so everything, I think the last Helios I sold was, I can't remember. I think it was like a banana enchy pastel pinstripe het clown, or something like that. So you get all those mixture of all the genes except the het clowns. You couldn't see everything. It'd be 50% het clown. Looks like we had another super chat. Let's see. Can you explain the codominant, recessive, and dominant? Yes. So recessive, so you need 2 copies of the gene for recessive. You can't see 1 copy of the gene. So for example, Bobby here is a bamboo. And if you just have 1 copy of the gene, you get a bamboo like Bobby here. If you have 2 copies, you get the all-white snake, the blue-eyed leucistic. And with recessives, with just 1 copy of the gene, you can't see any indication. Sometimes you can see a little bit on the het pieds. Sometimes you can see a little brightening on the clowns with 1 copy of the gene. But normally you can't see anything with recessive. And then codominant versus dominant. Some people would say that with dominant you can't have 2 copies of the gene for whatever reason. So for example, your pinstripes, for the longest time the pinstripes were considered dominant, where you couldn't have a super pinstripe, but I've actually seen some people produce super pinstripes. And some of the other ones would be like granite. I don't think there's a super granite. That's a dominant mutation. So there's no super form with dominant, where there is with 2 copies of the gene with the codominant. All right, let's see. Wow, a lot of questions. I think I'm like 20 behind already in the first 5 minutes. All right, so I'm going to go to some of the new ones here. All right, let's see. I got 2 female adult pies ready to breed. I'm pairing them with an orange dream, yellow belly, enchy leopard, 100% het pie. Wow, that is pretty awesome. So keep in mind, with your enchy pieds, the enchy will make a low white pied. Your yellow belly with the pieds, you'll actually get the pumpkin pieds, which is pretty cool on that one. And the leopard, sometimes the leopard can scramble up the pattern. A lot of times it's hard to see leopards and pieds because the pied really scrambles up the pattern too. Sometimes you'll see it as a little bit darker of a color with the leopard, but I've actually seen some people say possible leopard in their pied, so that one could be a little bit tricky. But the orange dream and the yellow belly, you'll make some really bright, super bright pieds if you can hit those both. Yeah, don't stress over catching up on the questions yet. Yeah, I just have to kind of blow some off. There's like somebody. All right, if there's a pause, I'll go back and kind of catch up on some of the ones I skipped over. Best time to breed. You can breed ball pythons pretty much year round. I like to start pairing up my males and females on October the 15th, pretty much every single year. So that's kind of the date that I start thinking about pairing up, which is coming up pretty quick. As a matter of fact, let's see, that is in one, two, that's like 3 weeks away. I'm gonna start pairing up again, which is kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Why does my ball python shove the side of his face into my hand while I'm holding him? Pretty forceful. Yeah, it's a good question. Why do ball pythons move the way they do? That's pretty typical that ball pythons will do that. All right, Gary Jackson. I have a lesser 66% clown and a pastel 100% het clown. What are my odds of hitting a visual clown? So yeah, so keep in mind, 66% het clown. There's a 66% chance that it has one copy of the gene. So it may or may not actually have a copy of the clown gene. So your odds would be, I'd say, your odds are either 0% chance. So if that one's not het clown, then you wouldn't have a chance of hitting a het clown. Or if it was het clown, basically it'd be like breeding two hets together, which would give you a 66% chance of getting a visual clown. So it really depends if that one is or isn't. And if you do get a visual clown, then your 66% turns into 100% because you proved it out. Let's see. What do you have coming up for sale in your triple recessive projects with the albinos? Yeah, so I think I'm gonna have two male lesser triple hets coming up for sale here pretty quick. I think let me take a look here. They've only eaten 3 meals so far, so they still need a few more meals, but I'll be posting those over on Morph Market at some point. Let's see. I have a young female ball python. When will she grow to a big size? Depends how much you feed them. The faster you feed them, the more you feed them, the faster they will grow on your ball python. So sometimes it can be kind of tricky. Sometimes they can go off of food. All right, let's see. Dave from New Hampshire. What's up? I've got one adult that's a mouser. Not very consistent. Any advice? So yeah, I used to have a mouser. They can be pretty tricky. Sometimes you can actually feed them a mouse, like back to back, like week after week, feed them a few mice, and then like feed them a mouse, and then maybe like an hour later, go back and try to feed them like a white rat, a smaller white rat that's just a little bit bigger than the mouse. Sometimes you'll actually trick them into eating the rat. But I found with my mouser, I really couldn't consistently get them onto rats. They would always go back to mice, which was pretty frustrating. And it really depends, I think, on the size of the snake. So if you have an adult that's been eating mice for like 5 years, it's a lot harder than if you had, you know, a 6-month-old juvenile that's kind of stuck on mice. It'd be a lot easier to transition them over at that point. Really depends on how long they've been eating mice too. All right, let's see. Let's see. Ireland Squad, what's up? When pairing male and female, should I put my female in the enclosure with the male or vice versa? So I don't think it really matters if you put the male with the female or vice versa. I have always taken the males and moved them through my females. I've always kept the females in the same time. I don't think it really matters one way or the other. What combos are you working for next season? Yeah, so hopefully next year I'll hit my first completely scaleless ball pythons, which is like the big thing that I'm working on. That's pretty much the big thing I have next year. And then the following year, I'll be breeding my triple hets, my albino pied clowns, which I don't think I'm going to push them this year. They're pretty close. I think they're like 1,300 grams on those females, about 2 years old. So I'm not going to push them to breed. I'll wait till next year. And that would be pretty awesome if I could actually hit the albino pied clown visual, especially in the first year. I don't know, you know, it could take up to 10 years breeding those snakes to hit the visual. But if I do hit a visual, I'll definitely be working that triple het into a quadruple het and kind of continue the project that way. All right, Bobby. Let's see. Hope this goes on for 3 hours like the last one. Yes. Grizzly man, it probably will. I'll probably go till from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. here. And then I'm going to get on my Harley and go for a ride after that, before the sun goes down. And then I'm going to clean some mice and feed some snakes. That's pretty much my planned evening. All right, let's see. Wow, lots of questions. Do mahoganies have a head stamp? Good question. I did a video on mahoganies a long time ago. It's been a couple of years since I did my mahogany video, and I don't think they have a head stamp on the mahogany. Mahogany's a really interesting gene. It's a dark gene that in a lot of combinations, it'll give you like a coppery colored combination coming through, which is pretty awesome. The super mahogany is called the Suma, but as far as I know, I'm not sure if they actually have the head stamp. Trying to lower my normal production. Me too. All right. What would you put with your normals to get different morphs? So the more genes you can put with your normals, the better. So, you know, like I've actually taken Bobby, bred it to a calico, got a calico bamboo. Then I took that calico bamboo, bred it to a lemon blast, and I ended up with a bamboo calico pastel pinstripe. So that's what you really want to do. You want to take like a 5 or 6 gene animal and then breed it back to your normals to get some more combinations. The more genes you can actually put into those normal females, the less normals you'll have. So that's kind of the route I'm taking. You know, you can go on Morph Market, you can buy some like 5 or 6 or 7 gene animals and breed them to your normals, and you almost will never get a normal if you have enough genes in your males. I've actually seen that done before too. Let's see. I just got my first ball python and it stayed in the warm hide for 3 days. Yes, sometimes they can stay on the warm side for a really long time. So yeah, that is pretty normal. How long should I leave my male in with the female? I usually leave my male and female together for 3 days when I'm breeding my ball pythons. And then what I'll do is I'll actually kind of slide open the tub and peek in there. And if they're still on top of each other, I'll leave them in there for another day or two, sometimes up to a week, until they're completely separated. And I know for sure they're not breeding, and then I'll separate them at that point. But yeah, so I go like 3 days on and then like 2 weeks off, 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll put them back with the female and kind of rotate through that way several times over like 6 months to really get them bred. I've seen some people, you know, I'm pretty sure if you actually just take a male, put it with a female, leave it for 3 days, and then separate it for the whole season, I'm convinced that you'll end up with a lot of slugs if you don't keep putting that male with a female. I've actually seen a lot of people with a lot of slugs, and I've actually heard in some cases that they've only paired them up maybe just once or twice. I think it takes more than that. How was the show yesterday? It was pretty awesome. So as a matter of fact, I learned that show was a brand new show. It was only the second time they ever had that show in Colorado. A lot of people didn't know about that show. As a matter of fact, there was room for probably twice as many tables, maybe 3 times as many tables if you really would have packed it in there. But it's, you know, it's a new show and it's growing. And if I would have known about it a little bit earlier, I would have maybe considered going to that show and setting up a table, which is, it was a pretty nice place. Had a lot of room. There's quite a few people, but not as much as you'd see in a lot of the bigger shows, where sometimes it's like packed shoulder to shoulder in those really big shows. But that, you know, the people that were there selling animals, let me tell you, they had some really amazing animals. I'll actually have that video coming out tomorrow, where I'll show you some footage of that show. It was pretty awesome. Let's see. All right, sounds like my normal day: riding motorcycles, taking care of snakes. That's pretty much my normal day here. Yeah. Let's see. What do you think about putting a wild-caught gene into a breeding line? Yeah, so if you take a wild-caught snake, I think, as a matter of fact, a lot of people, you know, kind of say you would actually strengthen your collection, taking a wild caught animal and then breeding it into your collection, because it gives you more diverse genetics. And I think that's true. Even if there's no genes in that wild caught, I think it would be a good idea. But you just have to make sure that you don't have mites or anything like that. It'd probably be best if you had one that was already quarantined, or like some of the captive hatched eggs. I've actually seen that where they'll catch a ball python, and then when it lays eggs, they'll let the ball python go and take the eggs and hatch the eggs. So it's kind of like right from the wild, but the snake that hatches out has never actually been in the wild, which is probably the best way to do it. Let's see, Ben Harrison, what should I breed my albino with? So I actually did a video on albino. It was one of my very first videos. Pretty much hands down, everything that I've seen as far as albinos, the number one thing most people do is go for the albino pieds. Take an albino, breed it to a pied, and then you get your double recessives, and then try to hit the visual with the doubles. But you know, sometimes it can be a long road doing it that way. I would say what I would do is I'd breed just an albino to an albino. I absolutely love the albinos. Then you get a whole clutch of what I think is the best looking albino, just a straight albino. Another thing you can do is the black pastel albino or any of the dark genes, and you end up with a really high white albino if you work a dark gene into it. So that's kind of what I do. There's another thing you can actually do. As a matter of fact, one of the best ones I've seen with albino is the tri-stripe. If you've ever seen the tri-stripe albinos, and not many people working with the tri-stripe. So, and it's also a recessive. So that'd be an interesting project if you're looking for something a little bit higher end, going for the tri-stripe albinos. Yeah, so 66% het means there's a 66% chance that the snake is het. Yeah, so yeah, it's almost like breeding in the dark and you can't see the results. And there's a chance because you can't see the gene in the snake. So yeah, there's a 66% chance that the snake is a het. And then once you prove it out, it's either 100% or 0%. And then sometimes if you actually so for example, I actually took Visual Desert Ghost this year, bred it to what I know for sure is a het desert ghost, and I got 0 desert ghosts. So sometimes it can kind of trick you with the odds where you're trying to prove something out, and if you still don't get any of the first round, it might be worthwhile to go back and try it again, maybe 1 or 2 more years to prove it out, because sometimes if you hit the odds really bad, sometimes you won't get the visual, which is kind of frustrating. So as a matter of fact, last year I only had 1 desert ghost from that pairing. This year I had 0, which is pretty amazing, pretty unbelievable. Let's see. Wow, lots of questions. I'm like 20 behind already. All right, let's see. Here's my question. Have you ever had females lay without witnessing an actual lock? Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, I don't look for locks, because I've actually, when I first started, a lot of people said, all right, you need to check for locks every single day, peek in that tub several times a day. And what I've actually found is when you're opening the tub looking for locks, a lot of times you'll actually interrupt them and the male and female will separate. So you definitely don't want that. You want them to twist their tails and you want them to stay together for as long as possible. So I just pretty much put the males with the females, leave them for 3 days, and then take them out. I don't look for locks. I don't write down the locks. If they breed, they breed, and that's pretty much it. I've actually seen just the opposite, where I've seen a male lock with a female again and again and again, and the female still doesn't lay eggs. So just getting the lock doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get eggs too. All right, I have an Orange Dream GHI Clown being shipped. Nice. Wow, that's a pretty wild snake. Orange Dream GHI Clown. Nice. Let's see. What breeding project would you recommend for a beginner? Good question. There's so many genes out there. I'd say get something that you really like. When I started, I actually got into the bamboos because nobody really had a nice looking bamboo. And bamboos here in Colorado are pretty much non-existent. That's one of the reasons. I actually got into it. As a matter of fact, if I was to start over, what I would actually do, if you have some time, what I would actually do is go to all the reptile shows in your local area and look what people are producing, and then produce something that is completely different than everybody else, which would be a good way to do it. Or you could produce like some really bright snakes too, like with the pastel, the orange dream, and the yellow belly. Really bright snakes always sell really good. Clowns and pieds always sell really good too, so you can't go wrong with clowns and pieds if you're looking to breed and sell them. All right, let's see. Wow. All right, let's see. Jordan Dean. So should I take my banana, leopard, pastel, cinnamon, Mojave and breed it to my clown male to prove out all the genes? Yes, you actually could. And then everything would be het clown too. So if you actually hit all those genes plus het clown and then bred it back to a clown, you could actually get some really crazy stuff. So banana is really visually dominant. Gives you a lot of the orange color. Leopard, pastel, cinnamon, and Mojave. Wow. So yeah, that's kind of a crazy combination right there. Let's see. Berge. I'm Berge. I'm sure I butchered that name. It's from Norway. Hi. Sub from Norway, trying to breed 2 balls for 2 years. And now they only seem to be fighting, even though they are male and female. That's interesting. So, yeah. So usually the only ones I've ever seen fight are if you put 2 males together. So you might want to double check to make sure you don't have 2 males together in the same time. Hey, we got another super chat. All right. Let me skip ahead about 30 questions here. All right. Lazarus Ipu. All right. Hey, Mr. Hardwick, if it wasn't for you educating me on morphs, I wouldn't have started breeding. Expecting my first clutch now. Nice. Showing appreciation. Thank you very much. All right. That is in Canadian dollars, right? CA. Yeah. All right. All right. So I'm going to skip to a new question. I live in Florida. Should I still be using heat tape during the warmer months? At what temp do you suggest? Oh, come on, Bobby. No. All right, Bobby. He's like wrapped in a knot, like a pretzel. What are you doing? Yeah, so I actually keep my hot spots at 90 degrees and my ambient temperature at 80. So, as a matter of fact, if you lived in Florida, you might not need a hot spot, depending on how hot it is. You might not need any humidity either, which would be pretty ideal. Edwin Baker, do you have a bamboo male for sale? No. The only one that I have coming up is a bamboo lesser, possible calico, possible het desert ghost. It's a blue-eyed leucistic. Not sure if it's a male or female. I should be posting that one here pretty quick. As a matter of fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one's eaten 7 meals already. So as a matter of fact, I could probably post another 20 snakes over here. I got a couple stragglers over here that for some reason I haven't had to assist feed any this year, but I have had a few where they'll only eat mice and they refuse to go on frozen thaw. They're kind of lagging behind, which sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get them over. What color mouse is easier to breed? Good question. So yeah, so when I first started breeding mice for my snakes, I actually went to it was like I can't remember if it was like Petco or something like that, some of those big chain pet stores that say some of them actually want you to sign a thing that say you won't feed a snake with a mouse. So I actually picked up some mice from there. It was like a fancy mouse. And the funny thing is I started breeding those mice. They were really fancy, and I bred like a gold one to I can't remember what color it was, but a really interesting colored mouse. And I produced this whole rainbow of all these different really fancy mice. Some of them were like black and white, almost like a milk cow, and some of them were like almost like an iridescent gold sheen, almost like metallic. And I kept holding back all the fancy mice, all my favorite ones, and I pretty much ended up with a whole rack of all the mice. They were pretty much pets at that point. I was like, all right, I need to do something else besides, breed and collect fancy mice. So I actually went to one of my local pet stores, and they had some feeder mice that were all white mice. And for some reason, the all white mice from the pet store for feeders that are designed as feeders, they'll have so many more babies. They'll have like up to 16 babies per mouse, where the real fancy ones, they'd only have like maybe 5 or 6 babies. So it really depends on the strain of the mouse. So I would definitely not go with the fancy mice. I go with one of the feeder mice that you can get from the pet store if you can find them. They're really hard to find too sometimes. Let's see. In case of the U.S. economic collapse, where do you see the snake market going? Yeah, so I would say if there's an economic collapse, the snake market is going to skyrocket. I would think, a lot of people are probably going to be thinking about, especially now. As a matter of fact, it seems like ever since the pandemic started, everyone's looking for ways to not work and be exposed to the virus, and a lot of people are trying to figure out what they can do at home. So a lot of people are breeding snakes. As a matter of fact, at this last reptile show, I saw a lot of people getting into isopods, those little tiny roly-polies. Which, as a matter of fact, one lady was there. That's all she did was those little roly-polies. She said she had some at home she was breeding, and she was selling them for $750 for 6 of those little isopod roly-poly bugs, like little insects. I just could not believe it. She had so many of them, and they were so expensive. Like some of them were like $125 for 6 of them. And it seems like everybody, almost half the tables there, had those little roly-poly bugs that everyone was selling, those isopods. And it seems like everyone's trying to figure out how to make money from home to where they don't have to work. I think that's kind of the big thing, especially with the pandemic and the economic, if there was a collapse, it's kind of interesting. Or even just with the supplementation of your income. So I think everything where, you can breed stuff at home, I think it's really going to be big. Let's see. Bioactive is the new big thing. Yeah, so yeah, bioactive. But this is like a notch above bioactive, where people are like trading bugs, which is interesting. I actually saw another lady at the reptile show. She was doing praying mantises. She had a whole bunch of different adult praying mantises. There were all these different colors, and she had literally tiny little tiny babies, which I thought was pretty fascinating. Let's see. What morph combination would you recommend for a first-time breeder? So I would probably, for a first-time breeder, I'd probably go with anything dominant or co-dominant, like your like a pastel, pinstripe, bamboo, Mojave, anything like that. Lesser, any of the ones where you don't have hets, because as a beginner, sometimes the hets kind of floating around and percentage hets. Sometimes they can be pretty challenging and pretty frustrating. I've seen people kind of burn out doing recessives for the first snakes. Unless the other way you could do it is take like a pied, a visual pied, breed it to another visual pied, and don't get any hets. You can actually do it that way. Then you'll get all visuals, and I think you do pretty good doing something like that with pieds or clowns. That'd be a good way to do it. Let's see. What do I get when I breed a pastel lesser to a normal? Yeah, I actually answered that question. You'll get pastels, you'll get lessers, you'll get pastel lessers, and you'll get normals. So 4 different results from that one. Let's see. Let's see. Do I give discounts when buying pairs? No, actually, So I don't actually give discounts on my snakes, but if you buy 2 or more, you actually only pay shipping once. So you save pretty big on the shipping. It's like it can be as much as like $80 on the shipping. So that's where you save for shipping. Let's see. What would you match with an Enchy Lemon Blast Yellow Belly? So yeah, so you know me, every time I see yellow belly, I'm always thinking asphalt, going for the freeways with the yellow belly. And then with the Enchy in with the asphalt yellow belly, you'll actually get the Mardi Gras. And then you'll also have the Lemon Blast, which would be the pastel. The pastel Mardi Gras are really awesome. And the pinstripe Mardi Gras are pretty awesome too. So definitely with that one, I would go with an asphalt. The asphalt's kind of hard too because the yellow bellies and the asphalts look almost identical. A lot of people can't tell them apart, so that's a pretty challenging project. Let's see. All right. What would you put with a very bright banana Spectre male? So Spectre. All right, so the Spectre yellow belly, is that the super stripe? Let me look up. Spectre, I think that's a super stripe, right? Let me look up Morph Market. Boy, Spectre. So that was, as a matter of fact, I actually did a video on the Spectre, and it seemed like it was hard to do anything with the Spectre. Let's see, super stripe. Let's see. Yeah, super stripe, Spectre yellow belly. So yeah, so with the Spectre, I would go with the yellow belly and make the banana super stripe. As a matter of fact, I actually saw a banana super stripe at the reptile show. It was pretty big and it was super bright too, so that would be the way to go. But yeah, the Spectre, as far as what I saw in a lot of the combinations, it's pretty tough to actually see the Spectre gene in a lot of the other combinations. So yeah, it's an interesting gene. Let's see. I seen my snakes locking, and against my better judgment, I disturbed them, and they separated. So I always thought it was bad to look at them during locking because they do separate. I would probably just continue your rotation. You know, give them a couple weeks off, put the male back in with the female, and this time don't look at them. just leave them for like 3 days together and then separate them again. That's what I do. But no, if they separate once, you're still good. You should still be fine. Do I feed during a shed? Good question. I've actually had some snakes eat during a shed. And I'd say normally if you're feeding during a shed, what you really have to do, especially if their eyes are really blue, you have to take the rodent and put it right up to their nose and almost touch their nose so they can smell the rodent. It's a little bit different. You have to hold it a little bit closer, but I'd say they don't always take it. I'd say maybe 1 out of 4 that would normally take a regular rat without being in shed, but every now and then you'll still get them to feed during the shed. Let's see. All right. How do you first start your snake collection when it comes to snakes, racks, incubators? Does it cost an arm and a leg? Yes, it does cost a lot of money. And you keep dumping more and more money into it when you first start. So when I first started, I actually started with glass aquariums on wire racks. That's what I started. And then eventually just bought sections of an ARS rack, just a few sections at a time. Of course, if you keep buying sections, the shipping will really kill you. But you can get into it at a lower cost, but you'll pay more for it in the long run. So what I would actually do, if you're just starting out, as a matter of fact, I did a video about this. What I would probably do is I'd buy an adult female that is ready to breed like a normal. Sometimes you can pick up like a big yellow belly or an Enchy. You can actually go over to Morph Market, sort by the oldest female over on Morph Market. And sometimes you're spending quite a bit for some of those bigger, even a bigger normal. Sometimes you'll spend a few $100. But let me tell you, getting hatchlings the very first year producing right away is kind of the key, because you can take some of that money and put it back in to where you're not, waiting 3 to 4 years to get a return on your investment, which, it can be a really struggle. That's kind of the way I did it. I started with all hatchlings until I realized I'm not making any money and I'm putting a lot of money into this. So I kind of had to change things up. But yeah, that's kind of what I did at the beginning. As a matter of fact, I realized that after about 2 years. And then about 2 years in, I actually bought a whole collection of adult females. I think I bought like 8 or 9 females. And that year I had the best year ever. And ever since then, I've been doing really good. So that's probably the way I would do it again. If I started over, I get as many adult females as I could right off the bat. So you start getting money the first year, so you don't, spend too much and go broke doing it. One of my pied females just eats African softers. Yeah, so sometimes they can get stuck on mice. Sometimes they can get stuck on African softers. So yeah, what to do? So sometimes I found in some cases you can actually feed them an African softfur, and then like an hour later, sometimes you can feed them another rodent, like back to back within the same hour. And sometimes after eating an African softfur, they'll take a rat or something like that. But I found sometimes when they get stuck on them, sometimes it's impossible to go full time on rats with some of those snakes. So, I've seen a lot of people, I've seen a lot of these breeders, they'll really push their snake. They're like, all right, I want to feed this snake whatever it takes because I want to put as much weight gain on as possible. And I want that female to breed as soon as possible. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll feed mice or African softfurs or live rodents all the time, and then they'll get stuck on that, and sometimes it can be kind of frustrating. I try to do frozen thawed as much as possible on all my snakes. All right, let's see. Spectre Yellow Belly is super striped. Yes. All right, let's see. What would you match with a super banana enchi? Ooh, super banana enchi. Yeah, so everything will be banana. And keep in mind, if you have banana, banana is really visually dominant. So anything with a lot of color that you mix with the banana, it'll pretty much wash out all the color, and you'll end up with a banana-looking snake. So I would probably stay away from like pastel or orange dream as some of the ones that bring in a lot of color. I would go with pattern enhancing genes. Go with like a spot nose, or a let's see, what else goes good with banana. I would go with like a leopard. Do a leopard banana. What is Bobby doing? Bobby's going crazy here. So any of your pattern enhancing mutations, you could do super pastel too, would work good, really, to jumble up the pattern with the banana. Yeah. Oh, banana super inchy. Yeah, so that's yeah. So all right, so the next comment, you said banana super inchy, so that's a little bit different. Yeah. So then if you breed it, everything will be inchy. Yeah. Okay, so then you don't have to worry about it so much, because only half your offspring will be inchy. All right, yeah, so that's another thing you can add with bananas super inchy, because it really jumbles up the pattern. All right, does socializing help breeding? Good question. I don't think it does, honestly. You think you put the male with the female and they don't even pay attention to the people. It's pretty much instinct for the ball python. All right, let's see. Wow, I'm like way down here. All right, so I want to go to the new question. How do you know if my ball python likes or enjoys being handled or wants to get back in her enclosure? So like Bobby here, I could tell Bobby is like, put me back in my enclosure. She's kind of squirreling away and running around. Usually if they try to get off your shoulder and start trying to leave from your shoulder, then it's kind of time to put them back. Usually Bobby, well, yeah, it's been about 45 minutes, so sometimes he'll go to sleep on my shoulder, and sometimes he'll just get really restless after about 45 minutes. That's usually when you know. All right, what would you match with an Enchi bumblebee? Good question. So, yeah, so that is a stinger bee. One of the things I really like with spider is calico. Calico and spider work really well, especially when you're adding pastel in there. So that's a so you have an Enchi pastel spider. You could also work in Orange Dream or Super Orange Dream, especially if you work all those in with calico. So I'd get like a Super Orange Dream calico, maybe another Enchi. So Super Orange Dream calico Enchi, if you can afford one and breed it with that, that's probably what I would do with that one. All right, I've had a Royal for 10 years now. Always been great to handle up till now. If we walk past her aquarium, she just butts the glass and remains in an S position and won't let me get anywhere near her. Huh, that is interesting. Never seen that before. Usually a friendly snake will always be friendly. It usually won't revert back. All right, Rob M. I have a male banana, thinking of getting a female, looking at butter, bamboo, BEL, or a pied female. Yes. Male banana. So yeah, so if you got the butter bamboo, you'd actually get banana butters, and you would get banana bamboos and butters and bamboos, which would be pretty awesome. Or a pied, you could do a banana pie. That'd be pretty awesome. So yeah, a lot of stuff you could do with that. How did you begin working from home full time? Yeah, that's a good question. So I actually did both. I had a full-time job and I bred snakes and I did YouTube. Yeah, let me tell you, it's a lot of work trying to do everything at once. You see these guys trying to do it all, trying to make it, and even still, it seems like I have those days where sometimes I wish I had a little bit more money, and I feel like I should go back to work. But you have to kind of have to get used to not making as much as you used to make at your daytime job, at least for the beginning, until you can kind of transition to where your YouTube channel can grow. In my case, if it grows a little bit more, and where you can start producing some more higher end snakes, but it's definitely a challenge trying to break away from the day job. The other thing is like with YouTube, it's and the snakes, sometimes you have really good months where you're making a ton of money, and then sometimes you'll have months and months and months where you're hardly making anything, and sometimes you're going in the hole. So it's like up and down, up and down. You never know if you're going to make a lot of money or a little money. And that is the frustrating part. Versus a day job where you could budget everything, you really can't budget working on your own because your income is just all over the place. So it's definitely different working at home versus working at a day job. I'd say it's a little more stressful in the financial way, but it's a lot more relaxing in personal free time kind of way. I'd say that. So it's a little bit different working at home. Let's see. All right, Bobby. What are you doing? All right. All right. Hey, Chris, after watching you for a few years, I decided to try a small ball python business. I bought 16 babies. Lost my income a few months ago and I need to sell them. Can you help me? So yeah, you could try posting them over on Morph Market. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, if there's local reptile shows, which you can actually do, I've actually seen this where I went to the reptile show and I knew this guy just the other day. I was talking to him and he just had 2 snakes and he was at another booth from a reptile store that he knew, and he was actually having the guy at the reptile store put his snakes out at the reptile show. I thought that was pretty good. So if you can actually find someone at a reptile show that has a table that can kind of squeeze in a few snakes, you can actually do that. As a matter of fact, the guy that had the snakes there, just a couple snakes, he's actually standing there like security, kind of watching over the table. So that might be a thing you can say, hey, can I sell a few snakes here? I'll watch over your table and I'll be security, make sure nobody steals anything, which is pretty much something everybody at the show needs. As a matter of fact, at the show, I was talking to one guy, and he said someone stole the frog from his table, a really big frog. I can't remember what kind of frog it was, but every now and then you'll see people like stealing frogs or snakes off of tables. So everyone's kind of looking for security. So you might be able to do that, trade for security for a little spot at their table, maybe sometimes. Do you have any plans to get Hurricane? No, I probably won't get Hurricane. As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking about getting the into Confusion, and I was at the reptile show, and this guy had a Confusion leopard, and apparently the genes are so close that you can't tell the difference between Confusion and leopard in a lot of the combinations. And he was so frustrated because he had all these snakes that they were either Confusion or leopard or both. And he said he was just ready to get rid of the whole project because he couldn't figure out which one was which. Of course, the Confusion's really expensive and the leopard's not that much. So, you know, a lot of them he just listed as possible Confusion. I don't even know how you could price something like that. That would be really frustrating. So if I get, let me tell you, if I get like Confusion or Acid or Static, I probably won't be getting Leopard to add to the Confusion. Or if I do get Leopard, I'll definitely keep it separate from all the other ones. All right, let's see. All right, so I only have a normal Ball Python. Do you have any suggestion? What should I pair with her, or should I just get a new pair in the future? So yeah, normals can be pretty powerful. I would actually get like a multi-gene male, as many genes as you can get in a male, breed it to that female, and you'll get a whole variety of stuff. That's what I would do. Yeah, I still have normal females here in my collection. They're so productive. It's like you just don't want to get rid of them because they make money every single year. And it's hard to sell something that's productive like that. Can we do a breeder loan? I'll send the male. Would love to kick off a breeding project. Yeah, it gets a little bit confusing, I'd say. I was actually thinking about that when I first started trying to share snakes and do stuff like that, but yeah, the problem is if you get mites or something in your collection and you're sharing snakes with a bunch of people, I think you'd make a bunch of other people kind of upset. I think pretty much you're always better off just to buy the snake up front and then breed it in your collection versus doing some kind of a sharing if you can possibly do it. How do you check if a baby mouse is male or female? I don't think you actually can. I remember doing my rats. I had really young baby rats. I was trying to do a video, trying to figure out the males and females on a video. And let me tell you, you absolutely cannot tell until they're a little bit more mature. And then the males fill out and you can definitely tell the difference. But as far as the babies, I don't think you can really tell one from the other. Can you keep 2 or 3 juveniles? Bobby, ooh, you're gonna choke me out. All right, Bobby. All right. All right, I want to put Bobby back. Whew. He's gonna choke me out. All right. There we go. Yeah, I got another snake for you. Check this one out. I'll pull this one out. This is a pretty cool snake. Not tame. Hissing, not tame. Probably really flighty, but beautiful. Take a look at that. My Bobby replacement. This is my pastel Enchi desert ghost, a visual desert ghost. Let's see. His name's Brownie. All right. Let's see. Can you keep 2 or 3 juveniles in a terrarium together? I have 2 females and a male. I would definitely not do it long term. I've actually seen where people do it for short term, putting juvenile snakes together. As a matter of fact, I went into a pet store once and they had snakes that were probably like 500 grams, some juveniles all together in the same. Of course, it's at a pet store and they kind of have to display them all, but it was interesting. Even at like 500 or 600 grams, the males and females were actually breeding at like a really small weight. And let me tell you, if you breed a female too small and it starts developing eggs, it could potentially be life-threatening if that female can't pass the eggs. So I would definitely not keep them together. I've actually seen people keep a male and a female together full time in the same enclosure. Just had one person said that they did it, and then every year they would just pull out a handful of eggs. I thought that was pretty interesting. But I say normally, a lot of times you'll get the snakes to go into a breeding mode, and a lot of times it's hard to feed them if you keep them together full time. So I would definitely not do it. Let's see. Wanted to breed my female Mojave Pinstripe Phantom Ghost with the Corglow Pied. What kind of combo would that be? So yeah, you can actually go over to the genetic calculator over on the World of Ball Pythons, or Morph Market has a genetic calculator. It'll give you all the different combinations of all those. So you'll actually get Mojaves, Pinstripes, Phantoms, Corglows. Wait a minute. If you have a Mojave Phantom Pinstripe Ghost, isn't that an all-white snake? I think with the Mojave and the Phantom. I think the Phantom's in the blue-eyed leucistic, right? Mojave Phantom. Let's see. I think that's a blue-eyed leucistic. That is Mojave Phantom is a Purple Passion. I should have known that. No, that's a Mystic Potion. Purple Passion. Mojave Phantom. It's actually a Phantom Potion. Yeah, it's purple. Yeah. Interesting. Phantom Potion. Okay. Yeah, interesting. What kind of lighting do you use? Yes. So I have my lights on right now. I actually use studio lighting. As a matter of fact, if you actually go underneath the description of all my videos, I actually have all my equipment in there. I have my lighting in there. I can't remember how much it is. I just bought a pair of two. As a matter of fact, I bought 3 of them. One stopped working after 6 months. Luckily, I still have 2. I just use 2 lights. And then a lot of times, this is kind of the natural light, not color corrected. But I'll actually go into like Adobe Photoshop and I'll pull out some of the colors and kind of color balance it, and then put some of the vignetting, kind of the darkness around the edges of the video, so it looks a little better. So let's see. All right, let's see. I'll look this up here. Hold on a second. Yeah. Mojave Phantoms. Purple Potion. Purple Potion. Yeah. All right. That's right. Boy, all those potions. It's funny because I do like this really in-depth review of a certain combination, and then years later I'm like, what was that again? I have to look at my own video to remember what it was, which is kind of crazy. All right, so are you a highway or freeway? So I'm basically a freeway. I think the freeways are a lot better in most cases than the highways as far as the contrast and the color. Although I've actually seen some leopard highways, probably the best combination of highways that I've seen, maybe even better than some of the freeways with the leopard and the highway. So I think depending on which gene, one is better than the other. It really depends on what you're working with. I think it depends on the lines of the highways and the freeways. As a matter of fact, if you go look at freeways and look at a whole bunch of different examples of freeways, you'll actually see there's a whole bunch of different versions, I think, of the asphalt and different versions of the yellow belly, which come together to form completely different looking freeways, which is kind of interesting. I've seen, especially if you look at like the pastel freeways and look at like 10 different pastel freeways, no two will be the same. They'll be completely different. It kind of blows you away how variable it can be. Cruz R, what's up? Let's see, Dave, would you ever recommend force feed to a juvenile? I have a female that's dropped from 800 to 700. No, I would. So So the only time you want to assist feed a snake is a snake that has never eaten before and just does not know what a rodent is. It takes them a little bit to figure out. That's why I like to start with live mouse hoppers. Well, let me tell you, once they hit 800, 700, 800 grams, as a matter of fact, even if they hit like 200 or 300, I would definitely not assist feed a ball python like that. I would probably try a live mouse. That's probably the best thing to try to get them back on feed. Do you like the vision cages? Yes, I do like the vision cages. Desert Ghost. Yes, this is a visual Desert Ghost. This is Brownie. Pastel Inchy Desert Ghost. Pretty awesome snake. Yeah. Giving Bobby a break. All right. Are you planning on expanding your collection? Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get, hopefully I'll actually get, I'm getting a used ARS 7030 hybrid that a local guy has here in Colorado, one of the local guys. So I'm actually working on trying to get that. As a matter of fact, a full-size ARS 730 won't fit in here. I'll have to figure out where I'm going to put it. As a matter of fact, I might have to move my hatchling rack underneath this lip in my ceiling and see if I can fit it over here. But I'll have to take some levels off because I can't fit a whole rack in here. And then probably what I'll do is I'll probably expand to get, I'll probably just hold back a lot more of my juveniles that I hatch out and expand into it that way. You kind of want to do more Desert Ghost and more pies and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, this one, I don't know how long this one's going to be able to go around my neck here. All right, let's see. Let's see. Do you have any bamboos for sale? No more bamboos. I only had just a few of them and I sold them already. You're the man. I've started my own reptile motorcycle business. Balls and bikes. All right. I was thinking about, kind of combining them over here, putting some motorcycle videos on my snake channel, but I didn't think it would go over that well. But motorcycle videos do really well. It seems like they do a lot better than Bol Python videos. I think because there's just so many more people into motorcycles than Bol Pythons. So it's kind of interesting. Let's see. Oh, all right. All right, so, all right, let's see. How do you make a mystic potion? Good question. So you actually take a mystic and breed it to a Mojave, and the combination of the two genes, 25% of the time you get the mystic Mojave, which is a purplish snake. So the mystic potion looks really close to the purple passion, which is pretty interesting. So the purple passion, so yeah, the mystic potion versus purple passion. That is the big question. So the purple passion actually has the phantom, where the mystic potion has the mystic. And I actually did a video comparing the mystic to the phantom. Some people actually think the mystic and the phantom are exactly the same gene. So the mystic potions and the purple passions pretty much look identical, and they're really variable. So you can see different versions of each one, and they have some overlap on the two. It's kind of an interesting combination. It's almost like a blue-eyed leucistic, but it's not completely white. Did I get any boas? No, I didn't get any boas, but kind of the interesting thing at the last reptile show, I had one guy there that was selling at a table, and he had some boas and ball pythons. He said the boas were selling better this time than the ball pythons. He said he was surprised because it's the first time the boas were more popular, which is interesting. Sorry I'm late. Did you switch out Bobby? Yes. Bobby was getting crazy, so I switched Bobby with Brownie. Brownie is my pastel inchy desert ghost male. My only male visual desert ghost in my collection. There are so many genes that I don't understand, like special and extreme gene. There are a lot of genes, and I still don't understand a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah, so some of them, I don't know. Some of them, like the extreme genes, some of them are really hard to see in a lot of combinations. And then with the certain combinations, they actually just pop and it's really obvious. I think that's what's really confusing because you can breed them, you know they're co-dominant, and they're just kind of floating around in your collection, and you don't know 100% sure if you have them. They're almost like, it's kind of like on the border of being recessive and dominant or co-dominant, where a lot of times you can't see one copy of the gene in a lot of your combinations. I think that's what makes it really confusing between trying to track down a lot of these genes. Let's see. So we've been going for an hour, 5 minutes, 97 people on the live, which is crazy. All right, let's see. What do you think would be the best to put with a Russo female? So one of the things that I like the Super Russos, which is the all white snake with the blue eyes. And the interesting thing with the Super Russos is it seems like they have the brightest blue eyes of all the blue-eyed leucistics. Some of them are almost comical. They're so bright blue. It's pretty amazing. I love your channel. I learned so much. I'd love to see some videos on boas. Yeah, so I've been pretty much just focused on ball pythons. That's kind of the decision I made here on my channel. It seems like if you kind of branch out and do all the other reptiles and the boas and the geckos and the lizards, it seems like you can get a lot more growth as far as growing really fast. You see a lot of these people that are doing like a whole variety of all these different reptiles, and they're growing really super fast. And I decided I'm just going to stick with ball pythons because really there's not like a dedicated ball python channel that really digs deep into the genetics. And that's kind of one of the reasons I changed my focus to do just mostly, every now and then I'll throw in some ducks and chickens and stuff, but I pretty much just focus on ball pythons. You're going to be at the Tinley Park show? No, I won't be going to Tinley Park. No Bobby. Yeah, Bobby was out for 45 minutes. And then I switched him with this guy. Bobby's taking a break. This is Brownie. I love your videos so much. Thank you. Where do you think the ball python market is headed? I think it's going to be more and more popular, and snakes are going to get more and more expensive, I think, the more we go. It seems like, it was funny, it seemed like for the longest time, the prices were coming down and down. It seems like now that everybody's thinking about, you know, doing something extra at home to raise a little bit of money, it seems like the prices are going up for ball pythons, which is completely different than your traditional ball python market over the last few years. Do I work with a nanny gene? Nope, I don't have any nannies. Although you can make some pretty awesome combos with the nannies. I've actually done a video on that one too. How many snakes do I have now? I have, I think I have 70 hatchlings right now. So 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, I'd say maybe 115, 120 snakes, something like that. I got a couple of them sold, and one of them I'm waiting on feeding enough rodents to get that one going. But yeah, it's definitely a handful with 100 plus snakes here. Usually if I sell my hatchlings, I'll get down to like 45 to 50, which is a more manageable number, I'd say. But yeah, that's a lot of snakes. All right. What would be my dream gene combo? Yeah, so I guess the one I'm working on long term, that would be a multi-recessive. Like if you could actually get like 5 or 6 recessives in one snake, that would be my dream combination. Like if you could do like an albino, pied, clown, monsoon, axanthic, or something like that. And then if you can actually breed something to that where you get all those genes individual and kind of make a whole rainbow of all the recessives, That's kind of what I'm going after with my multi-recessive gene project. Still have a retic? Yeah, so I actually have two reticulated pythons. I have Lucy, she's about 100 pounds and about 17 feet long. And then I have Sunny. Sunny's about 45 pounds. Sunny just went on a feeding binge. That was super crazy because he was like biting everything. I couldn't even open the enclosure. He'd like come flying out. It was super scary. I had to like just crack it a little bit and try to squeeze the rat in there so he wouldn't come flying out at me. Man, that was a crazy snake. And being that big, you know, they can lunge a long ways. Are you on Morph Market? Yes, I'm on Morph Market. So I actually put a link in the description under every video if you want to go over there and check out what I have. I think I have maybe about 10 snakes over there right now. I actually just posted some dubia roaches over on Morph Market if you're interested in dubia roaches too. And here, probably in the next week or so, I'll be putting maybe another 10 snakes over there. So you might want to keep an eye on what's going on Morph Market. Everyone hit the like button. Yes. I don't know if likes actually help or not. I got 40 likes, but yeah, so I guess I guess if you like it, they might promote it more. All right, my female spider has hit 2,001 grams. I want to breed her with my male axanthic. What would the outcome be? Both are single gene. So yeah, you would get all het for axanthic, and you would get 50% spiders out of that one. Keep in mind, there's several lines of axanthic. So whatever you do, you don't want to take your axanthic, breed it to another axanthic if it's a different line. So if you have like a VPI axanthic, it's not compatible with a TSK axanthic. You'll get incompatible lines. Well, there'll be double head for both lines of axanthic. So you definitely don't want that. Prices are definitely going up. Yes. All prices everywhere. Even gas, everything's going up. The food, yeah, everything's going sky high. Snake prices are going up. Can you tell us how to tell when the snake is ready to breed? Follicle size, yes. So I usually start breeding when they're 1,500 grams or more, and I'll just put the males with the females. I've actually seen some people, what they'll do is they'll actually take like an ultrasound, and they'll ultrasound the snakes on a regular basis. And then once the follicles hit like I think 10 millimeters, they'll start pairing up the males and the females, but I just put them together. I don't even worry about the follicles anymore. I pull up my ultrasound and just kind of, like at the end of the season, if I have some females that haven't laid, I'll actually take my ultrasound and look to see if they got some decent sized eggs in there, and then I'll know if they're going to lay or not. But other than that, I really don't use my ultrasound to breed. Some people are like fanatics with the ultrasound. All right, we got a super sticker. How's it going? Thank you. Have I always lived in Colorado? So no, I was actually born in Wisconsin, but my grandparents were born here in Colorado. They grew up in Colorado, so we are definitely a Colorado family, I guess you would say. Yeah, so the funny thing is my grandparents, they actually worked at home too. So they taught piano and violin out of their house. And then later on in life, they actually sold antiques out of their house, which is kind of interesting. Can't wait to see Lucy on some eggs. Yeah, so yeah, if my reticulated python lays eggs, that's going to be like probably 50 or 60 eggs. That'll be a lot of eggs. As a matter of fact, I'm almost ready to breed them, Lucy and Sunny, which would be pretty awesome. Let's see. Never seen my Ball Python in my ambient side hide. Is this okay? Yeah, so sometimes they'll stay on one side or the other for a really long time. Sometimes they'll stay in the hot spot for like a month, and then sometimes they'll come over on the cold side for like a month. Sometimes it just kind of flips back and forth. I wouldn't really worry about it. I was super stressed when I came in late and didn't see Bobby. Bobby's fine. As a matter of fact, we could probably pull Bobby out again. He's had a 15-minute break, half an hour break. All right, this guy's doing pretty good. This is Brownie, Pastel Inchy Desert Ghost. He's a pretty awesome looking snake. Still keeps a lot of the yellow color with the Desert Ghost. Pretty awesome. He was sold to me not inchy, and then I produced some inchies out of this guy. So, yeah, some nice inchies. All right, let's get Bobby. Yeah, you gotta come back to work, Bobby. You gotta earn your keep. All right, Bobby's still here. He's still doing good. All right. My local Petco just got a bunch of morphs for some reason, but is selling them so expensive. $200 for a pinstripe, $1,300 for a normal pied. Wow, $1,300 for a pied. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, we'll see if they sell a $1,300 pied. I don't know if there's some other genes they're not listing in there. $1,300 for a pied. That's crazy. Yeah. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's like a confusion pied or something. Maybe they didn't add the other gene in there. All right, let's see. I appreciate all your videos. I thought I knew a lot about ball pythons, but I learned a lot watching your videos. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a lot to ball pythons. Sometimes I feel like I'm still learning a lot, especially when it comes to like some of the newer genetics, stuff like that. Yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around some of that stuff. And then the problem is there's so much stuff that, you know, even if you learn it, after a while you forget it and then you have to go back and relearn it, which is kind of frustrating too. Let's see. I used to live in the town of Fountain, Colorado. Are you familiar with it? Yes. Fountain. Fountain is between Colorado Springs and Pueblo. Yes. I've been on your channel ever since you had less than 1,000 subscribers. Wow, that was like years ago. That was like 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I absolutely love your content, by the way. You say interesting about 20 times a video. Yeah, that's a bad habit. Interesting. There's some other stuff I repeat over and over and over. Sometimes it's like, actually, that drives me crazy. So actually this, actually that, and I was like, I have to stop and restart. I said actually too many times. Or sometimes I start and restart. I said this certain word too many times. Yeah, so yeah. Let me tell you, it's a challenge being a YouTuber. Trying to talk every day without saying the same word more than 5 times in 10 minutes. Yeah. That's another thing that's a challenge. Petco is crazy. I saw a normal for 130. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. How is Bobby? Bobby's doing good. Getting a little squirrely. He's had too much time off. He needs to be around my shoulder more often. All right. You said you have a blue-eyed cystic hatchling. I heard it was bamboo. What's the other gene? So I actually don't have it up on Morph Market. As a matter of fact, if you watch my Morph Market store, I'll post it up there. It's a blue-eyed cystic with bamboo and lesser, and also is 50% possible calico, but you can't see the calico in the blue-eyed cystic. It's also possible het desert ghost. I think it might be 50% het desert ghost on that one. Let's see. Bobby, the man who started it all. Yeah, so yeah, I decided to make Bobby the star of the show about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I started bringing, as a matter of fact, when I first started, I was kind of cycling through all my snakes, putting them around my neck, but I could not get one to stand still. And I said, all right, what is my most unusual snake in my whole collection that I think could be the star of my show? And I decided And it was Bobby, because Bobby was the oldest bamboo over on Morph Market, pretty much the biggest bamboo that I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen one as big as Bobby's. So, and then I decided to start putting just one snake around my neck. And let me tell you, when I first started doing it, people didn't like it. They're like, we want to see more snakes around my neck. We don't want to see the same one. So it didn't really go over very well at the beginning. And then it seemed like after a while, Bobby started having like a following over here on YouTube. Everybody wants to see Bobby now. It's kind of interesting. Melissa says, hey, Chris, what's up? Let's see. We're moving to Denver next week. Nice. Where do you recommend we get rat bedding and rodent food? So there's actually a store in Denver that's called Walker's Quality Cajun Feed. They have both the bedding and the rat food. So yeah, so I went, as a matter of fact, when I was doing my rats, I was going through a whole bunch of different types of bedding, and some bedding is toxic. A lot of the pine bedding is toxic to rats. And I was going through the pine. I was going through garden mulch. I was trying shredded paper. I was exasperated because I couldn't find a good bedding. And then I went to one of the pet stores that are local in Denver, and they bred rats. I was like, where do you get your bedding? And they're like, we get it from Walker's. And I started buying it at Walker's. Never had a problem with dead rats from the toxic bedding ever since I changed over. So you definitely have to watch your bedding on the rats. Let's see. We're breeding our first pair this season. Any tips? Yeah, so watch my videos, I guess. Got a lot of videos on breeding. Yeah, good luck. It's pretty simple. You just put the male with the female. Keep feeding the female as much as possible, maybe once or twice a week until she goes off of food. And then once she goes off of food, starts building follicles. I'd say you have maybe a 50% chance of getting eggs from any one female at any certain time. All right, Martin, hoping to prove my bamboo out as VPI axanthic. That would be pretty awesome. Axanthic bamboo. Another one that would be good is like an axanthic ghost bamboo, which would be pretty interesting, because if you have axanthic and ghost, you have like the true ghost. So you'd have a true ghost bamboo, which would be pretty wild. Moving all 60 snakes from Houston to Denver. Wow. That's pretty wild. 60 snakes. If you want to try breeding a ball python but don't have enough to get a table at a reptile expo, how do you go about selling the babies? Are there options other than Morph Market? Yeah, you can actually contact some of your local reptile stores. A lot of them will pay you pretty good money for hatchlings because they just flip the hatchlings. That's where they get a lot of them. You can get a better price if you do trade hatchlings for store credit and buy some of their stuff there too. So you can advertise on Facebook. I've seen some people advertise on Facebook or like Craigslist. I picked up a couple snakes early on from Craigslist, so that works. Local breeders, if you can find some local breeders too, sometimes depending on what you have. A lot of times what you can do is you can start up your own website, list all your snakes over on your personal website, like your business website, and then just give people a link and then direct them over to your website. Sometimes that works. They can kind of browse to see if they're interested in anything. Let's see. Let's see. What's the best way to start up breeding ball pythons? I would be starting out in my personal bedroom. Yeah, so I would actually start with adult females. As many adult females as you can, so you can actually start producing babies the very first year. That's what I would do. Like an adult normal, even normals, and they get like a multi-gene male, breed it to your females. And then once you start producing money, you can actually invest into some higher end projects. That's the way I'd start. What's your most memorable clutch to date? Hi from Scotland. Wow, Charles from Scotland. My most memorable clutch. Good question. I would say maybe my first scaleless heads. I actually hit a scaleless head lemon blast, which is pretty wild. And that one's kind of interesting too, because that was the first year I had my scaleless head male, which was like 400 grams, a tiny little male, which is even too small to breed in most cases. And I was actually putting that thing on like 5,000 gram females. It was like putting a worm on a big snake. And believe it or not, it actually bred. I couldn't believe it. Ended up with some really amazing scaleless heads that I was pretty excited about. That, as a matter of fact, it's been like 3 years ago. So that was probably one of the best ones. I'd say this year, probably the best memorable one was I actually got 3 albino pied visuals out of a clutch, which is pretty awesome. I'm going to hold back one of them, the female, is a future breeder. So that was pretty memorable too. All right, let's see. Is it okay to handle your ball pythons every day? Yeah, I would say it is. It really tames them down. But kind of the interesting thing is kind of when I took a break for the summer, I was doing a lot of motorcycle videos instead of snake videos. So Bobby wasn't really around my neck every single day. I think that's why he's a little squirrely now. Not used to being around my neck every day. But it seemed like being in his tub all the time, it seemed like his appetite improved. And he's a better feeder not handling him every day, which is kind of interesting. You can definitely tell he's gained some weight since he's been on camera last. Yeah, fauna classifieds. Yeah, you can do fauna classifieds too. Instagram. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can market your snakes too. Can you breed any time of the year? Yes, you can. I actually like to start pairing up I actually pair up October the 15th, only because I like it really easy, just kind of in my head as far as where everyone is in my whole collection. I've actually seen some people, they'll breed year round. They'll actually have such a big facility or multiple facilities where they'll actually breed like a section of their collection different times of the year, so they always produce hatchlings and they always are going to the reptile shows. Matter of fact, I've actually seen a lot of the big breeders where they'll have hatchlings in January and February at some of these really early reptile shows, which is kind of crazy. Just all times of the year they have hatchlings. So but you have to really kind of track and monitor all your snakes if you're doing it that way. I've actually seen a lot of people using ultrasounds. A lot of those guys that are like die-hard ultrasound, they look at the follicle size to start pairing up and doing it that way too. I've seen a lot of people breed year-round. I think you can be a little more productive if you do it that way, but it's a little bit more work doing it. How often can you breed your ball pythons? Pretty much once a year. Some of them, as a matter of fact, some of them, it's once a year is almost too much. Sometimes you have to give them a year off, especially some of the ones that lay really late in the season. Sometimes you can't get them up to size to get enough rodents into them before the next breeding season. So I'd say pretty much once a year maximum as far as the shortest period of time. Let's see. I found a bumblebee female, 2,100 grams. The guy's asking 400. Proven breeder. What would you pair with her? Wow, that's pretty good. So, 2,100 grams, huh? Yeah. So you know me and the bumblebees. Anything with the spider and the pastel, I like to do like Orange Dream and Calico, or like Super Orange Dream, Calico. You could do pastel, super pastel. You could do Enchi. That works really good. I like the really super bright, the high white sides on a lot of those with the calico mixed in. You can actually go to Morph Market and look up some of the spider calico orange dreams, like super orange dream stuff. It's absolutely breathtaking. Some of those snakes. What's your opinion on back heat versus belly heat? I've always used belly heat. I've never used back heat. So Not sure on that one. What are the necessary needs to start breeding? You need a male and a female. You need an enclosure and some bedding and some food. That's pretty much it. And just throw the male with the female, and they'll breed. It's pretty simple. And then, of course, once they hatch, you'll actually need an incubator for when they hatch, and then a hatchling rack too when you get to that point. But when I first started breeding, as a matter of fact, I didn't have a hatchling rack or anything. I actually waited. I actually built my own incubator. And then once I had eggs in the incubator, I actually invested in my hatchling rack because I knew I could sell some hatchlings in a few months to pay for the hatchling rack. So that's kind of one way to do it. If you know you have eggs in the incubator, hopefully you actually have money coming in that you can, pay off the hatchling rack with. What's the best thing to breed to a pastel to get the best variety? So I would just breed any multi-gene. You can go a lot of different ways. You can do like dark genes if you wanted to go, like with like leopard or blackhead or GHI, or you could do like really bright genes like with the pastel, the super pastel, the orange dream, some of the really bright ones like that. But yeah, there's hundreds of genes. There's a lot of different ways you can go. It really depends on what you want to do. I would just go over to Morph Market and start looking at some combos and see what you want to make. That's the way I would do it. Let's see. If you ever want any rare pythons in the future, hit me up. Instagram. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, there's so many to invest in. It's hard. It's hard to come up with the money and and figure out exactly what you want to invest in too. So I'm pretty sure I wanted to get into the confusion, the acid, or the static. Maybe I'll do something. I know it seems like everyone does confusion. I might do like acid. Do the some of the acid combos. Which would be pretty awesome. Pretty much the same thing as the acid, static, and confusion are pretty much the same gene, what most people agree. Let's see. All right, let's see. For year-round breeders, how often do you breed your males? So so for my males, what I'll actually do is I'll take a male, I'll put it with a female, usually October the 15th, I'll put it with a female, keep it in there for 3 days, and then I'll move it to another female for 3 days, and then I'll give it like 2 weeks off to feed it, and then give it like a week after feeding to kind of recover, and then I'll put it with 2 more males, kind of 2 more females, the same rotation, 3 days and 3 days, pretty much 4 females maximum per male, and I'll keep rotating. I guess you'd say like 6 days on females and then like 2 or 3 weeks off in a rotation, pretty much for like 5 or 6 months until my first females start ovulating, and then I'll just separate everybody once they start ovulating. Let's see. Is it okay I'm using paper towel as substrate? Yeah, so I actually started using paper substrates for a while. Oh, Bobby's wrapped around the chair. Where are you going, buddy? And especially when I had hatchlings, I'd spray down the paper towels with water and keep it kind of damp, and then put the hatchlings on the wet paper towel. And for some reason, I would get all kinds of weird colored mold or something where it was like pink and blue and all these weird different colors on my paper towels. That kind of freaked me out when I had it in there with the hatchlings. But if you have like ambient humidity in your room, or it's like 85% like in Florida or something, you may be okay with the paper towel substrate without getting it wet. And here I actually went to a whole room humidifier. The other thing I don't like about the paper substrate is it seems like the snakes really can't get a hold on it, to where they don't seem as stable as they do like on a coconut husk substrate. So I just prefer the coconut husk just because it's a little bit better for the snakes as far as getting a hold on it. And then of course with paper, you're always chasing the messy tubs, where the coconut husk, it seems like, if they pee on it, it just soaks it all up and you don't even know it's in there until, like a couple weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks where you have to actually go and clean it out. But it's a lot easier to spot clean, it seems like, on coconut husk. I think the next big snake species will be house snakes. So yeah, so that's the difference between ball pythons and all the other snakes. Ball pythons pretty much have the most genes out of any other snakes, besides maybe reticulated pythons. And the only problem with retics is they get really super huge. So if you want, you know, a handleable size snake that doesn't get really monster size, and you want the most genes with the most combinations, nothing can beat the ball python. I mean, some snakes, as a matter of fact, I went to the reptile show. They were selling garter snakes for $300 for a garter snake hatchling, which, you know, sometimes they can kind of take off a little bit and be really expensive, but I don't think anything is going to be as big as the genetic diversity of the ball pythons. What's the weight a ball python has to be before breeding? The males have to be at least 500 grams. The females have to be 1,500 grams. And I'd say for the males, I would prefer to have a male that's at least 2 years old before you breed. I've actually bred 1-year-old males before that were 400 grams and it actually worked, but it doesn't always work. If you actually breed a younger, smaller male, I would definitely have like some kind of a cleanup male to follow up behind it to make sure if it didn't breed that you could actually breed it with a different male. As far as females, most people say 1,500 grams. I've actually bred one at 1,400, laid a clutch of 6 eggs. So most people say at least 1,500 though for your females. All right, the Grand Cricket. Hi, Chris. Hi, Bobby. What is going on? Let's see. Is there a way to find out if my normal is het for anything? Yeah, I've heard some people are doing DNA tests with sheds. It's kind of the new thing coming out. That one university, they're just kind of playing around with it. But as far as that, the only thing you can do is just breed a recessive. And there's so many recessives, it'd be almost impossible to figure it out. Another thing you can do is you can breed like, as a matter of fact, if I actually produced a triple recessive, like an albino pied clown, I could actually take that, breed it through my collection, and kind of just play around to see if anything else is het for those 3 genes. But there's so many different, even with like axanthic, there's different versions of incompatible axanthics. It'd be really tough. A lot of times you just kind of randomly produce a visual, and then it just kind of catches you by surprise. We're breeding a candy lesser with an albino yellow belly het red axanthic. Wow. So candy is a version of albino. A lot of people think the candies and toffees are the same. Lesser is in the blue-eyed leucistic. You're breeding it with an albino. So everything will be het for candy, het for albino. Oh, no, wait, they'll actually be candinos, right? You'll have het for candy and het for albino. So you'll get candinos, yellow belly, het red axanthic, lesser. That's an interesting combination. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. I've considered getting into the candy or the toffee project, or the monarch would be a good one to get into too. Not many people are doing a lot with the monarch. I thought that would be pretty interesting. Let's see. I have a very defensive female that when I drop a rat in, all she does is strike over and over, but won't eat. Yeah, so that is the problem with some of my hatchlings right now. I'm trying to transition them from a live rodent, a live mouse hopper, over to a frozen thawed mouse. And it seems like if you try to give them a frozen thawed mouse, a lot of times they'll just strike at it. You could try doing like a smaller live to try to transition them. But I found, especially with a lot of my live feeders, a lot of times they'll actually be like that. Another thing you could try with a snake like that is maybe do more handling to try to get it to where it's not so defensive with people. It seems like a lot of the ones that are really snappy like that, sometimes they're actually afraid of me when I open the tub, and they kind of go into a defensive mode. So you could try that too. Yes, Candinos indeed. What is your favorite species besides ball pythons? Pretty much ball pythons. Hands down ball pythons. I don't know. I'd say probably some of the king snakes. If I was to get another pet snake, it might be like the tangerine Honduras albino milk snakes or something like that. The ones that get pretty big. Those are pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, I actually handled an albino, I think it was an albino milk snake at the show. It was a really big one, but they wanted like $300 for it. I thought it'd be a pretty cool pet. It actually had a band right across its nose, which is pretty awesome. Every now and then I'll actually pick up something random like that I can kind of show on my YouTube channel to kind of play around with. The last one I had was a really big corn snake, which is pretty awesome. I've actually had a Bumba Python, from an Australian Woma. That was pretty awesome. What's the price difference for banana orange dream pastel hatchling versus adult? Good question. Really depends on what it is and what people are looking for. So sometimes there's a big difference between the hatchlings and the adults. Sometimes it's not that much. Depends if it's male or female too. It seems like the females really increase in price a lot more because especially a ready to breed female is in a lot higher of a demand than a male. So you kind of have to go over to Morph Market and see what's on there, what the price is as far as what people have been selling them at. And for me, the hatchlings, male and female, I don't change the price. Some people actually change the price for males and females. Sell the females a little bit more as hatchlings, but I don't do it. What are your thoughts on the Nido virus and testing for it? I've actually seen some people do have problems with that virus. I think it kind of acts like the spider gene, where they kind of get the head wobble, and it's really contagious and is lethal to your snakes. I've actually seen people completely wiped out by it, so that's kind of crazy. I would definitely quarantine. Let me tell you, if you're bringing any new snakes, definitely quarantine. I don't test for it, but I do, watch for symptoms for a virus like that. So yeah. I've seen some people where they'll test every single snake all the time. I've actually shipped out snakes to people, and they said, hey, I want an agreement that if I actually do the test on the snake and it comes back positive, I want my money back. I was like, yeah, there's no virus here in my collection. You can feel free to do the test, but it's kind of interesting that people are really on top of that. What kind of cups do you use in your snake racks? So I actually use the ARS cups that are specifically designed for my snake racks. Oh, all right, Bobby. Here we go. He's getting a little squirrely. All right. So yeah, I actually bought some cups when I first started in ball pythons that were designed. They were actually the ARS deli cups. I used the big ones for the bigger racks in the tubs, and then they have small ones, so they have two different sizes. And then, as a matter of fact, in the morning when I'm washing dishes in the morning, I actually wash just maybe like 5 or 6 snake cups every single day in the morning, and I just reuse my snake cups over and over and over. So they've been holding up for years, which is pretty good. I actually don't buy any the snake cups anymore. Let's see. Let's see. What is I already said that. I already got that one. Let's see. We're fattening our vanilla super stripe. Any cool male ideas? Yeah. So I do like the vanilla creams with the vanilla and the fire. You should take a look at some of the vanilla cream combinations. They're pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to mix other genes in with the vanilla cream. If you had to give away every snake in your collection, but only keep one, other than Bobby, if I can only keep one in my collection, well, it depends if I was breeding or not. So if I wasn't breeding, it'd probably be one of my visual desert ghosts. I have my the one that I was just holding, the pastel inchy desert ghost. If I was breeding, I'd probably hold back one of my my female triple heads. Is probably what I would hold back. All right, my female's at 1,300 grams. Just went off food by waiting 2 years to breed her. Welcome to Ball Pythons. Yeah, so I got some. That's kind of like up there with my triple heads. My triple heads are 2 years old, right at about 1,300 grams, and they've been off food, just kind of real spotty on food. It's funny, they were eating like every single time. They got up to about 900 grams, and then they just became really picky, all of them, all at the same time. So yeah, I'm going to give them 1 more year. I'd say in most cases, I think it's 3 years to breed your females. So, and I think that's one of the reasons you want to hold back just, a few females every year. So you always have some new females every year coming into the breeding cycle after, 3 or 4 years after you've been in the business for a while. Yes, let me tell you, it takes a lot of patience to be into ball pythons. That's for sure. So females have been bull wrapping, and I've seen locks with one. Nice. Yeah, so I'm not actually pairing up my snakes already. So it looks like we're at 1 hour, 45 minutes, 81 people on the live stream. All right. Whew. All right, Bobby. Have you had to deal with dehydration from frozen thawed? I see my snake drink, but she recently had a problem with constipation. No, I haven't actually had any problems like that, which is kind of interesting. I can't feel follicles. What do I do? Yeah, so I can't feel follicles either. I've actually tried to feel follicles in some of my snakes, on some of my females, and I can't get the hang of it. I have to use my ultrasound. I just put my males and females together, and your female's going to go if eventually it gets so big it looks like it's going to explode and it's completely full of eggs. So yeah, it either goes or it doesn't. And towards the end, you'll definitely know when she actually completely goes off of food and starts getting bigger and bigger and fatter without eating. It's pretty obvious towards the end. You should check out pack racks. They're like Freedom Breeder, but have interchangeable tub sizes to accommodate different snake sizes. That's interesting. All right, going to be breeding DJI Mavic Het Orange Ghost with my Super Pastel Leopard Clown. Hoping for clown ghosts. Nice. That's a pretty cool, that's a lot of genes. DJI Mavic Het Orange Ghosts. Super Pastel Leopard Clown. Yeah, so you breed a Het Orange Ghost, then you get the possible Het Orange Ghosts. Kind of gets diluted further on. That's kind of what I'm seeing in my collection. You get, the possibles, the remotely possible, and then pretty soon you just don't even list that it's, possible. You get some of the odds are so slim. You get so far down. All right, I am 13. It's hard to find snake supplies for cheap like racks. So I was wondering if you knew any places for cheaper stuff. I've actually seen people build their own. It's not like if you look at some of the European snake channels here on YouTube, what they'll actually do is they'll use like a Tupperware with a top on it, and they'll take like a soldering gun and kind of melt holes into the sides of these big Tupperware enclosures and use those on just regular melamine shelving, just like a regular bookshelf. You can probably slide them under your bed. So that's probably the cheapest way you could actually do it. As a matter of fact, I actually ordered a rack, and I bought a whole bunch of snakes at the same time I ordered the racks. I got the snakes before the racks. And what I did is I just went to Home Depot and got really big, just the clear plastic totes, and then just drilled holes in the side of them and just used those temporarily for some of my snakes. until my rack got here. So that's one way you can actually do it. All right, Bobby, what are you doing? If you can get any single gene snake, what would it be? Right now, I'd probably get Confusion. That's like the next project I want to get to. But there's so many. It really depends on your budget too. So if I could get a recessive, it would probably be like a monsoon. If I could get like a, I don't know. You know, if you actually just started, you want to get one for a pet, I'd probably do something like Pinstripe. Pretty underrated, the Pinstripe. It's a really super gold gene. One of my favorite genes. I think I'll make an awesome pet. Flexing Pythons. What is going on? Have any females RTB ready to breed? Ready to breed right before the breeding season? Nope, I don't have any females ready to breed. Yeah, if I had females ready to breed, I would be breeding them in 3 weeks. Probably the best time to hit someone up for ready to breed females is like early January, kind of like the off season. A lot of times people kind of post the stuff that they kind of shelf, you know, or they try to breed them and they don't go sometimes. All right, just wanted to express how grateful I am for your videos. They've been an eye-opener and great way to ease into the crazy world of ball python. All the way from the UK. Yes, I have a lot of videos about ball pythons. Yeah. It's amazing how much there is out there, too, as far as how complicated the genetics can be. All right, Jenny. I recently purchased a firefly leopard clown male who was identified as a firefly. What? Wow. It sounds like they may have shipped you the wrong snake. Yeah, so if it has leopard and clown in it, yeah, that's like $1,000 difference between those two. So yeah, that's interesting. So I've actually, as a matter of fact, I've actually sold some snakes here in my collection that I have misidentified, and only after I sell the snake, people are like, "Hey, do you know that was actually Krypton or something like that?" And I'm like, "Man, if I don't know that, I could have got another $1,500 for that snake." And sometimes you just don't see it. Like new breeders, they'll breed stuff together, and they'll see something interesting. They're not sure exactly what it is, and they don't know all the genes enough to really know one from the other, and that's kind of where you run into problems. You know, even experienced breeders can do it too. I still produce some really crazy stuff. I'm like, I think there's something in there, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. And then I sell it, and then later on, it kind of dawns on me. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that gene and that gene, and I could have sold it for a lot more money. But that sometimes, you know, sometimes you can actually look over on Morph Market and kind of scan through all the hatchlings and see if someone just doesn't know what they have. Sometimes you can pick it up and realize there's other genes in there, which is another way you can actually do it. Let's see. Let's see. I have an axanthic het pied female. What would you pair that to? So yeah, first you want to know what version of axanthic you have, if you have an axanthic. If it's axanthic het pied, I would probably go for the lightning pieds with the axanthic pied. So what you can actually do is you can pick up like a het pied het axanthic to make, you want to make sure the axanthic lines are the same. Or if you want better odds, you could do like a visual pied that's het for axanthic, which shouldn't cost you that much. Or what you can do is you can actually get a lightning pied if you have the money and breed it to that. Then 50% will actually be axanthic pieds if you can afford an axanthic pied. But I think there's still, you know, over. I haven't looked at the prices. Last time I looked at the prices, they were like, you know, $2,000, $3,000 for an axanthic pied, something like that. At what age did you start your collection? Yeah, so you mean what age was I when I started? I actually just started breeding ball pythons like 6 years ago, as a matter of fact, so it hasn't been that long. that I started my snake collection. As a matter of fact, when I first started in snakes, I didn't have any ball pythons. I started with king snakes and an Australian Woma python and just a bunch of colubrids, and didn't even know what I was doing. And then when I went to my first reptile show, everybody was like crowding over the ball python tables. I was like, what in the world's going on with ball pythons? And it was at that point when I realized all the different genes and the new combinations every year for ball pythons, unlike any other snake. And I pretty much did a complete flip, got out of everything and just got completely into ball pythons, sold all my other snakes, except my big reticulated pythons. Have you ever thought about keeping or getting venomous? No, I'm not that brave. I know you can get a lot of views on YouTube. Let's without actually getting bit and dying, but yeah. So when it comes to venomous, yeah, it's not worth my life playing around with snakes. Definitely not. So I don't know if I got one venomous. Maybe if I could figure out a really safe way to do it, I might do a king cobra, which would be pretty awesome. They get really big too, and they eat snakes. So yeah, it's a completely different world going over to venomous. Can a ball python get along with other snakes? I've never seen anyone put a ball python long term with another snake. I wouldn't recommend it. Options on the bongo gene. Opinions on the bongo gene. I think I did a video on the bongo. Boy, if I can remember, I think with a lot of bongo combinations, you end up with a lot of striping on the top of the snake. I'll have to go back and look at that. That's kind of the ones I did. That was not a lot of information out there on the bongo when I did that video, and not a lot of people working with the bongo. But yeah, that's an interesting gene. Let's see. Although there are a lot of many snake channels out there, you're the most relatable to the small time enthusiasts. We really appreciate your content. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting when I was doing my morph videos, because when I was actually going through morph video, I would repeat a lot of the same stuff. So I was like, you know, this is a pastel, and this is what the pastel does. It brings in a lot of yellow, kind of reduces the pattern. And I would say the same thing pretty much in every single video. And if you actually watched all my morph videos back to back while I was doing them, it was like, this guy just repeats the same thing over and over. And it was because I knew a lot of the people just wanted that one video, and they didn't want to look at all my videos, and they wanted the information in that video. So yeah, it was interesting making those videos and repeating a lot of the information that I thought everybody needed as kind of a separate package in each individual video. But yeah, I kind of geared it for the new people. Do you have any tri-stripe? No, I don't have any tri-stripe. As a matter of fact, when I first got my first snakes at the NARBC, I was on the table half and half between getting pieds or tri-stripe, and I decided to get the pieds. Looking back, I probably should have got the tri-stripes. It seems like there's not a lot of people working with tri-stripe. It would be interesting to be more specific, doing just tri-stripe combos. Is it possible to pick out a ball python that isn't shy or nervous? Yeah, so usually I'd say with hatchlings. So with hatchlings, I'd say really depends on the hatchlings. I've had some that are just like terrors that will bite absolutely everything, and then I'll have other ones that are really calm. But I found, especially with hatchlings, you can take one that's even super aggressive, and you can, with enough handling, you could definitely tame it down really super easy. If you have an adult ball python that is really aggressive and starts snapping everything, let me tell you, sometimes with an adult, it's really hard to snap them out of it like compared to a hatchling. So I would say if you're buying a hatchling, it doesn't really matter if it's nervous and snappy and bites everything or not. But if you're buying an adult, I would definitely ask, what is the disposition of that snake as far as handling it? Love the gene specific videos. Thank you. Yeah. So one of the reasons I was doing it because nobody else really did it. I mean, you couldn't just go to, pinstripe and get a whole videos about pinstripe and pinstripe combinations on YouTube. So that's one of the, well, I was actually looking for that information and couldn't find it on YouTube. That's one of the reasons I actually jumped in and did it. I've actually seen a few channels trying to kind of reproduce what I've done, which is kind of interesting. People trying to follow in my footsteps doing morph reviews over on Morph Market, which I've seen a few people try to do it. I don't know. It's pretty challenging to try to do it. And I've actually learned quite a bit doing all those morph reviews. I'd say I learned probably more than the average Ball Python guy going through all the morphs. Oh, Bobby, what are you doing? Woo. All right, he's getting squirrely. Getting squirrely. All right, let's see. Thoughts on pairing a female that's old enough to breed, but only 1,200 to 1,300 grams. Some breeders say it won't harm them. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. Some people say if you breed too light, the female can build eggs, and those eggs can get stuck in the female, and the female can die. So I probably wouldn't do it. I have my triple hits are about 1,200, 1,300 grams. Let me tell you, I really want to breed them, but I'm not going to breed them until at least 1,400. 1,400 if they're eating well, and I can get them. Usually, if you start pairing them up at 1,400 and they're eating really good, usually they'll go 1,500, 1,600, usually within the next few weeks, so it's not a problem. But if they're like a 1,200 and they're not eating, I probably wouldn't do it. Let's see. What part of the United States do you think the reptile market is booming the most? Have you considered moving to where there are more expos and stuff? So, I think the reptile, if you can actually go over to Morph Market and look at all the breeders on the map of the United States. It seems like a lot of people are over on the East Coast and concentrated like on the West Coast and the East Coast. I don't know. I think you could breed anywhere, with shipping ball pythons. If you do like the reptile expos, even the local ones, you can do it pretty much anywhere. I've seen some people with warehouses of ball pythons, multiple warehouses, and it doesn't really matter where you are. They'll just pack a truck full of snakes and they'll just go, from one place to another. They'll do all the NARBCs and all the big shows, traveling, all around the United States. So it depends on how big you want to get to. But as far as a small collection, I don't think it really matters where you're at. What pattern on the bamboo do you like or prefer? Which do you not like? See a lot of variations on Morph Market. Yeah, so I'd say bamboo. Bamboo is kind of tough because it's a really visually dominant gene. So sometimes you make certain genes in with the bamboo, and a lot of times looks pretty much like a bamboo because it pretty much masks a lot of genes. And it's in the blue-eyed leucistic, which a lot of people don't like. And I think when the bamboo first came out and they discovered it was in the blue-eyed leucistic, a lot of people were really disappointed that it was in the blue-eyed leucistic because it can actually cover up some of the genes if you make the all-white snake, and it's really visually dominant. I'd say probably my favorite one is the bamboo and the calico. The bamboo pied is an all-white snake too, so that's kind of a bummer. As far as working bamboo into the pieds, I thought about working bamboo into my triplet project, but then you make the bamboo pied and it's all white, kind of like the lesser pine, which is kind of crazy. All right, Bobby. Bobby needs a break. he's just flying off my shoulder, ready to go back in this tub. All right, Bobby. All right, so let's see. We'll do another one here. Whoa. Here's one for you. This is Frosty. Take a look at this beauty. I don't know if she'll be good around my neck though. Whew, we'll see. Sometimes I take her out She's like freaking out. I don't know what she's doing. Oh my goodness. All right. Sometimes I'll take her out, put her around my neck, and clean some tubs. This is a pastel spider desert ghost. This has spider in it with no wobble, 0 wobble. Absolutely beautiful. I've been trying to breed this girl, I don't know, for 4 years, 5 years. She absolutely will not lay eggs. Oh, she's driving me crazy. I thought for sure she was going to lay eggs last year, and she didn't. All right, let's see. She'll calm down. All right, once a female lays, when can you pair her again? Yeah, so really depends on when she lays. So if you can actually get food, I think some people say you need at least 6 to 8 rodents in a female before you want to think about pairing her up again. And you want some decent sized rodents in her too. So really depends on how soon you can get her back on food as far as when you can pair her up again. What about a bamboo Enchi leopard pied? So I'm not sure. I think the Enchi leopard trick to bring color and pattern out of a white snake, I think that only works with yellow belly. I don't think it works with pied. I think an Enchi leopard pied is still especially if you had something else in it that would make it completely white, I would think it would still be a completely white snake. I don't think you could bring out the color and pattern. Do you think you can make a living off of just breeding ball pythons? Definitely. Depends on what genes you have in your collection. So I've actually seen people selling snakes for $100,000 a piece. And yeah, if you produce a few of those, yeah, you could live off that no problem. So it really depends. So if you actually had like $1 million and can afford some really high-end combinations right from the beginning and just work with really high-end stuff, it wouldn't take much work and you could do really good. So if you had like all sunsets and monsoons and some of the really high-end newer stuff, you could definitely do it. Maybe some of the higher-end clowns. But I think it's hard if you have kind of lower-end stuff, you need more snakes. As far as the low end stuff, you can do it, but it just takes more hatchlings. So for example, if I'm selling hatchlings for like $400, and I'm trying to make some good money, I have to sell a lot of hatchlings at $400 to make the same kind of money. But you can do it. It just takes more snakes and more work for sure. It's kind of like breeding race horses, I guess. So, some people just breed regular horses, don't make hardly anything. But if you breed the race horses, you can, make a whole bunch of money really quick. Let's see. All right. So, awesome. Thanks. And the lesser I have, chance for Lucy's. Yeah. So, so lesser is in the blue-eyed leucistic. All right, let's see. All right, so I have a female honeybee. Since there is the ghost gene, does she have the fertility issue? No. So, no. So the fertility issue is only with the desert. So it's a little bit confusing because there's the desert gene, there's the ghost gene, and then there's the desert ghost. So the one that has the problem with fertility is the desert. The desert ghost doesn't have any problems at all. Like this snake around my neck is no problems with fertility. And the ghost gene, no problem at all with fertility. One of the things with the ghost gene, there are several different versions of ghost, and they're not all compatible. I'd say the regular ghost is compatible with most of the orange ghosts, but not all the orange ghosts. There's also the green ghost, which is not compatible, and then the butterscotch ghost is not compatible. So you have to be careful with your ghosts too, so you don't get two different incompatible. I actually knew a guy who had a whole bunch of ghosts in his collection. He bought an orange ghost, and that particular orange ghost was not compatible with his regular ghosts, which sometimes the orange ghosts won't be, but usually they are. So it gets a little bit confusing. Oh, she's choking me out. All right, girl. Come on, girl. We'll see how long this lasts with this snake around my neck instead of Bobby. This one's getting a little squirrely. She's getting better though. I've been putting her around my neck on a lot of my spot cleaning adventures. Look at her eyes. Her eyes are really wild. Got some greenish, almost greenish coppery eyes on this one. I think it's the combination of the spider and the pastel to make her eyes look really interesting. Really beautiful girl. One of the prettiest snakes. It almost seems like there's inching in there, but I don't think there is. Although in this one, I haven't actually bred her yet, so you never know in this one. Let's see. What would you pair with the normal? Is it better to go for hets or co-dominance? I would probably go with co-dominance on a normal female. She's going under my arm. I don't know what she's doing. I don't think she knows what she's doing. Yeah, it's definitely, I think especially as a beginner, it's better to go with the co-dominance. So you can actually see all the genes and you can kind of get excited about what you have instead of, you know, the hets and the possible hets and all that kind of floating around. All right, this girl's like around my arm now. I don't know what she's doing. I got like snake jewelry around my arm. All right, girl, where are you? What are you doing? Crazy snake. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to get Bobby out here pretty soon if this girl doesn't cooperate. Oh, whew. Need to tame this snake down. All right, let's see. All right, yeah, those eyes. Let's see. How do I check the humidity of all my tubs? Good question. So I actually have an all-room humidifier in here that I set at 55%. So I know everything's at least at 55%. And then as far as checking the tubs, I'll actually just take a finger and kind of poke it into the coconut husk. And if it's really loose and just kind of breaks apart real easy, I know I have to add some water to those tubs. And you don't want it too wet to where you'll actually see the top of the coconut husk is wet. It should be wet underneath, but dry on top. I just kind of eyeball it as far as the humidity. We are at 2 hours, 11 minutes. 81 people still alive. Wow. Crazy. Is there any gene that you will think take over the market, like how the clown gene has? So the interesting thing about the clown gene, I think one of the reasons it's taken over is because certain breeders are really focused on the clown gene. It's kind of like the me and the bamboo gene. It's like the bamboo gene wasn't really that popular until I had Bobby in every single video and started kind of bragging about the bamboo. Not everybody wants a bamboo where it wasn't before, and I think it really depends on who's breeding and doing like a lot of like YouTube videos and a lot of social media stuff as far as the certain genes. So you can pretty much pick any gene and then really do a whole bunch of videos on it, especially if it works well in a lot of combinations, and really promote that gene. But yeah, as far as the clown is pretty much the king of combos when it comes to a recessive. Works really well with just about any gene. So yeah, so it's a matter of just getting the word out and really just showing the potential of the clown, which is pretty awesome. Let's see. I'd start a recessive project as soon as you start, or you will regret it later. Yeah. It really depends, I would say. I'd say recessive projects kind of hold their price long term, unlike some of your co-dominants. Although the market's completely swapped now. It seems like everything's increasing now, but like, for example, the Confusion, you can buy Confusion for like $1,500. I can almost guarantee in 10 years, Confusions will probably be down there with leopards because everybody will have them. Sometimes they can drop really fast like that because you can breed them through your own collection and produce a whole bunch of combinations. So they start out really high when there's not a lot of them, and then they eventually come down. Where the recessives, you're dealing with hets and possible hets, and the time to work other genes into them. It's just a longer term project working other genes into the recessive. So I would say I would personally start with dominant and co-dominant, and then once you get a pretty good breeding operation, start working on some of your recessives as more as kind of a long term, or jump in with both recessives and dominant co-dominants. Thoughts on Purple Passion? With enough work, can you make the purple more vibrant? So yeah, so if you actually go over to Morph Market and look at all the different Purple Passions, I actually did a video comparing the variability of the Purple Passions, and they're really super variable. And I think it really comes down to the different variations of each gene to make the Purple Passion. So some of the Purple Passions are really super purple just without any other genes. I think it just depends on the line. Hector Sanchez, what is up? Really want a Panda Pied. Yes, I know a few people working on Panda Pieds. Keep in mind that is the super black pastel, which potentially can have some genetic defects as far as a lot of the Panda Pieds, they'll have like duck billing or a weird shaped head. Some of them will actually have some kinking. So you're kind of playing with fire with the Panda Pieds. I think that's why they're not really super popular and why the prices are still really high. But I always thought, as a matter of fact, I was talking to someone at the reptile show. They were buying into the Panda Pied project. They were buying pieds with the black pastel. And what I would actually do, if you actually look at all the Panda Pieds, which is like a really stark black and white pied, almost looks like an inkjet, super, super impressive pied looking snake. But it's always a high white, or some of them are completely white. What I would actually do is I would work inchy, or maybe work like super inchy into the Panda Pied. So every single one you produce had inchy in it. I can almost guarantee that you'd have more of a 50-50 looking Panda Pied with half white and half black if you worked inchy into it. I'm thinking maybe sometimes the inchy can, it'll actually produce a really low white, but if you're starting with a really high white by just kind of the nature of the genes, I think working inchy into the Panda Pied would actually give you a really impressive result. That's what I would actually do in that project. Let's see. Do I have any boas? Nope, no boas. Panda Pied would be cool, but the super black pastel going with Suma Pied. So the Suma Pied is close, but let me tell you, it's not as black as the Panda Pied. I've actually seen one that was even closer. It was the Suma, which is the super mahogany with the black pastel and the pied. Pretty close, but not quite as black as the Panda Pied. This is, for some reason, the super black pastel and a pied is like inkjet black, like the black is with no pattern at all. It's really super impressive. I've yet to see any genes or any gene combination come as close as to the solid black, inkjet black of the super black pastel in the pied. Let's see. Just picked up a pastel spider asphalt het G-stripe. Nice. So it's interesting. Not a lot of people actually work with the genetic stripe. I think it's a really underrated gene that I've actually, as a matter of fact, I saw a banana genetic stripe at the reptile show. That thing was stunning. I could not believe how awesome it was. I've seen some pretty awesome genetic stripe combos. All right, so if I do get a lesser out of that pairing and breed it back to the male lesser, do I need to worry about defects? So the super lesser is blue-eyed leucistic. Sometimes the super lessers can have bigger than normal eyes, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't really hurt the snake. I've actually seen some people that really like the bigger eyes, kind of the bug eyes, which is, I've actually seen some people seek out the blue-eyed leucistics with the big blue eyes on those snakes, which is kind of interesting. Some people don't like it. Some people think it's a defect. Looking to upgrade, better to go with a 5540 or a 7030. I would go with the 7030. Let me tell you, if you go with the 5540s, like these tubs right behind me here, these are the 5540s. Most of your females will outgrow them. Unless you, it depends how you're breeding. I've actually seen some people where they're always kind of replacing their old females with some of the new stuff. So you'd almost have to, so for me, I have both. So I have, I almost wish I didn't have these 5040s. They're good for males, but not really good for the females because the females will definitely outgrow them. I was actually thinking about doing a video of taking one of my big 5,000 gram females, trying to stuff it into a 5540 and just show you there's no way, you can't even like fold it and fit it in the tub. It just absolutely will not fit in there. So your snakes will definitely outgrow a 5540. Wish you would start on some BCI. Yes. So probably the first boa that I would get maybe is the all-white Superfire, maybe a female, but there's still thousands of dollars for one of those, which would be pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, I'd probably breed like a Superfire to a Superfire and just do all clutches of the all-white boas, which would be pretty awesome. Do I have any patternless? No, don't have any patternless. Do I ship to Canada? No, I don't ship to Canada. I actually got a quote for shipping over the Canadian border, and it was like $800 or something like that, just for the shipping. You know, if I was breeding like $10,000 snakes or something like that, it may be worth shipping to Canada. But yeah, for you know, if I'm selling a bamboo for a few $100 and then the shipping is like twice that, I don't think it'd be worth it. Let's see. What morphs that you don't currently have are you most interested? So yeah, so thinking about doing either the confusion, the acid, or the static, one of those kind of it's almost like a leopard-like gene, like a dark gene that really jumbles up the pattern. Like it's almost like a leopard on steroids. It really explodes the pattern. Maybe I would do some sunsets or some monsoons if I could figure out some monsoons. As a matter of fact, I saw a het sunset at the show for like $400. It was like a fire het sunset. I can't believe the hets are coming down so fast on those sunsets, which is pretty amazing. Even the hets just a few years ago when I started were thousands of dollars. So yeah, the prices on some of that stuff comes down. Probably what I get into is like a monsoon. It's one of the newer genes. They're still astronomical. Last time I looked, they were like $8,000 for a visual, something like that, which would be pretty crazy. What would I pair with the bongo, cinnamon, pinstripe, enchi? Good question. I would probably go over to my bongo morph video to kind of get an idea of what goes well with bongo. I'd had quite a few examples of some stuff over there. Cinnamon, keep in mind you can actually breed a cinnamon to another cinnamon and get the all black snake, the super cinnamon, which is pretty awesome. Enchi goes good with banana. Enchi goes good with leopard. Pinstripe, you can mix it with like pastel to get the lemon blast, or the super pastel to get the super blasts, which is pretty awesome with pinstripe. What month do I pair up? I pair up October the 15th every single year. So I think I was thinking, I don't know if my females are ready yet, because a lot of my females laid so late and a lot of them aren't on food yet. So I don't know if I'm going to wait maybe a few weeks after the 15th just to try to get my females up to breeding condition before I pair them up again. But usually it's always October the 15th. All right, so finished one Coke already. This is a 2 Coke live stream. We're at 2 hours, 23 minutes. Going 3 hours. So another half hour or so, maybe. All right, what's your favorite pastel combo? I would say probably super pastels. As a matter of fact, I did a whole video on just super pastels. If you actually had a whole collection where everything in your whole collection was super pastels, I would say that's probably the way to go. Every snake you bought was a super pastel, and then all your offspring would be all super pastels. That would be awesome. So super pastel, I'd probably go with that. Pastel goes good with some of your other brightening genes like Orange Dream or Super Orange Dream. If you had like a pastel Super Orange Dream that's super bright. Pastel also goes good with Axanthic. It really cleans it up. You can actually do like pastel fire Axanthic, where you could really clean it up and get a really black and white snake without any of the pixelation in the sides. It works good with Axanthic. Picked up 2 asphalts, turned out to both be yellow belly. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, so if you actually take a freeway and you breed it to something else, half the offspring come out asphalt, half come out as yellow belly. I was actually looking at this video. I couldn't believe it. And this guy was, I think the video was like 5 years old or something like that. And he's like, so here's how to tell the difference between an asphalt and the yellow belly. And he had all these, a mixture of asphalt and yellow bellies, and he's like picking out the differences between the two, between the asphalt and the yellow belly. Let me tell you, I do not think you can look at a snake and know the difference just by looking at it between an asphalt and a yellow belly. I think they pretty much look identical. The only way you can 100% guarantee that you have an asphalt is if you started with a super asphalt, you breed it to something else, and you know 100% of the time everything will be an asphalt. But yeah, so that's really a bummer because, you know, by the time you raise them up and then you breed them, you're at least 4 years, 3 to 4, 5 years later by the time you figure it out, which is, that'd be frustrating. Ever thought about taking on a partner, maybe expanding the operation? No, never really have. So I'm actually, if I expanded, as a matter of fact, I might expand more on YouTube. That's kind of my idea. Instead of expanding my snakes, where I have to do a lot of work, you know, with all the snakes, I was thinking about expanding on YouTube. That's kind of one of the ideas with my new motorcycle channel that I started. I started a new channel this summer called My Motorcycle Obsession, where I posted about 60 videos riding and reviewing new motorcycles. And that seems like it's doing a lot better than my snake videos, which is kind of interesting. Usually with my snake videos, like if I post a video here on this channel, you'll actually see the views go up to a certain level based on your the kind of the I don't know how you say it, based on the potential of your channel. So usually if you have like 10,000 subscribers on your channel, you'll actually get like usually about 10%. You get like 1,000 views over the first few days, and then it's usually just a flat line. With my motorcycle videos, they'll actually come up and then they'll just start going up and up and up, like they're all trending videos, and they keep going up. And versus my snake channel, it's let me tell you, it's more of an uphill battle. But if you can have a lot of videos on YouTube that are trending, you can make most of your money from YouTube, and then you don't have to really worry about scaling up the ball pythons. But so yeah, if I started making like millions on YouTube, probably what I would do is I would sell most of the snakes that I have, and I'd reinvest in some really high-end stuff and do more of a high-end, kind of a high-end collection, which would make even more money. It would be more interesting, kind of doing stuff like that, which would be kind of interesting. But as far as having like thousands and thousands of tubs, producing tens of thousands of snakes, I don't think that's really the direction I want to go. Or like a reptile zoo. I've seen people do reptile zoos. I don't think that's the direction I want to go either. Let's see. I need to get a 70-30 rack soon. My females are pushing the limit. Yeah, so usually I'll pretty much the biggest I'll actually have a snake in a tub is when they're coiled up on the hot spot and they're really close or touching the sides on either side of the tub. That's when you know you need to upgrade to a bigger tub, when they don't have enough room to coil up in the back over the hotspot. If clowns were co-dominant instead of recessive, do you think they would be more or less popular? So yeah, so I think they would be really popular. So it's kind of interesting if you actually look back at the desert gene. The desert gene is basically exactly the same as the desert ghost in a lot of your combinations, but it's a dominant gene instead of a recessive gene. And when the desert first came out, it was just taking off like crazy. Everybody wanted desert until they found out there's a problem with the females, and then pretty much the desert ghost took the place of the desert. So yeah, I think that's the next big thing is the desert ghost. If you're actually to really focus on one thing and make it as big as the clowns, I think it would be the desert ghost as far as the next big gene in ball pythons. Have you seen the super mahogany black pastel? Yeah, I have seen them. Super dark, almost completely black on those. Can you show all of your snake racks? I actually did quite a few videos. You can actually do like Chris Hardwick reptiles, reptile room tour, and I'll actually do a whole tour of all my racks and show you all the snakes in my racks too. I haven't done an update in a while, but pretty much the same. I haven't gotten any new racks in a couple of years now. How do you breed for an albino pied visual clutch? Yeah, so so you can take an albino pied, breed it to an albino pied, and you get all albino pieds. That's the easiest way. Or what I did is I actually took an albino pied, bred it to an albino het pied, and you'll get 50%. If you actually take two double hets and breed them together, I think the odds are like, I think it's like 1 in 16 that you'll get a visual. It's kind of the long game as far as doing double het to double het. All right, so I'm going to come way down. I'm going to skip like 30 questions because I'm like way behind. Anyone else have a ball python that watches TV? I actually did a video about ball pythons watching TV, and some lady said she let her ball python free range in her house. It would just crawl around, and it would go in front of the TV and get mesmerized and just stare at the TV, which I thought was pretty interesting, that ball pythons will watch TV. Jaden White, what's going on? How's it going? Let's see. Start making TikToks. I don't know if you can make money on TikTok, so I'm doing YouTube, trying to live on YouTube and breeding snakes. So if I could find a way to make money on other social media platforms, I would definitely do it. Let's see. Can you give an update on the dinker clutch that just hatched? So yeah, I could probably do that in a separate video. How would you go about breeding a cherry bomb? Yeah, so the cherry bomb is the all-white snake with red eyes. So the red eyes, the only way you can get the red eyes is from the albino. So you need something with albino in it, and you need something that is all white. So you can do like a super fire to produce an all-white snake. As a matter of fact, the super fire albino might be the best way to go, because you'd have a completely super white snake. I don't think anything can break through a super fire as far as the pattern of the color. That would be probably the ideal cherry bomb. You could also do, I think most people would do blue-eyed leucistic. As a matter of fact, if you go over to Morph Market and type in cherry bomb, I think it'll actually break out the genes into, I think it's like a super Mojave albino. I think is what it lists over there. But you can use anything in the blue-eyed leucistic. As far as two genes, you can use the Mojave, the lesser, the Russo, the Mocha, the bamboo, all those genes. As a matter of fact, you could also do some pied. So if you do like a lesser pied, that's an all-white snake with the albino, that's another version of the cherry bomb. Let's see. If I watch a YouTube video, they'll stare at my phone. That's funny. My Ball Python is watching Chris right now. That's funny. I think your Ball Python is just watching this Ball Python. Maybe that's why. This is a really beautiful snake. Look, she's really calming down too. Once she kind of relaxes and calms down. And she's spider too. So this snake is pretty amazing. Not really any head wobble for a spider. So you can actually see she's doing really well. Can't even tell the spider's in there from her head wobble. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna have to skip another 20 questions. All right, let's see. Is the Dark Wonder a real gene? I've never heard of Dark Wonder, but there's always new genes popping up. Let's see. My Boll Python had a stuck shed all over his body. I gave him a bath. He went with his head underwater a couple of times. When I got him out, he started sneezing. Yeah, so what I'll actually do if I have, as a matter of fact, every now and then I'll still have a Ball Python that's stuck a little bit in shed. I just pulled out my albino the other day that was a little bit stuck in shed. What I'll actually do is I'll fill the sink with water, and I'll take a thermometer, make sure it's about 90 degrees, 85 to 90 in the sink. And then when I put the snake in the water, I'll always hold the head up out of the water because I don't want them to get, I'm always worried about a respiratory infection if they breathe in some of that water and they start sneezing like that. So I always make sure to kind of hold the head out of the water, and then I'll slowly kind of rub the snake to rub all the shed off. And I'll take I'd say maybe about 20 minutes working on the shed. Usually I can get it all off, just gently rubbing on the snake after 20 minutes. And I'll usually put them in the water for maybe 3 minutes, and then I'll just pull them out and kind of put them on my arm, and then kind of work on the shed. And then I'll kind of dunk them every 3 or 4 minutes. I'll just kind of splash them with water a little bit, but I'll always keep the head out of the water. Let's see. What would I pair to DJI Mojave? Yeah, one of my favorite combos. The DJI Mojave is a dark snake, almost completely jet black with really bright spots or lines right up on the top of the snake. So yeah, so you could do, as a matter of fact, I would probably try to make more DJI Mojaves. You could probably breed it to like a super DJI or another DJI combo. You could also do maybe what you could do is you could do like a DJI with another blue-eyed leucistic. So you could make super DJIs. You can make some all-white snakes. You can make some more DJI Mojaves, which would be a pretty good combination of dark and white snakes from that. So that would be pretty cool. What are your thoughts on clown pieds? Still pretty expensive. That's actually the 2 genes in my triple het project. So I'm hoping to actually hit some clown pieds and some albino clown pieds eventually, which would be pretty awesome. I can hear sounds when he's breathing. Do you think it's a respiratory infection? I would probably wait. If he breathed in water in a bath, I'd probably wait like a week or 2. I'm guessing it'll clear up. He probably just breathe in some water. Never really had one turn into a respiratory infection, but I think it would be possible, I guess. This guy's going like right behind my back. I don't want to lean back and squash the snake. All right, buddy. Come on. Is there any more beautiful ball python as an adult than spiders? Yeah, 5 years or older that you've ever seen, like that beauty around your neck. Yeah, spider is definitely a double-edged sword. They make some of the most beautiful combinations, like this girl right here. This is a pastel desert ghost spider, and look at how steady that head is for a spider. Can't even tell it's in there. Spider is definitely a double-edged sword. I actually went to the reptile show just yesterday. They had it was a bamboo spider. There's a bamboo spider I think it had pastel in it too, and it was a visual clown. They were selling it for $400. It was like a $2,000 snake that they were selling it for $400. And the problem is when you held the snake up, the head would move back and forth like this. It was awful. The worst wobble I've ever seen in a spider on that snake. So yeah, you get a bad one or like several bad ones in a clutch that have a really bad head wobble, and you'll be like, no spiders ever for me. And then like I've actually produced a few spiders in my collection, never had any bad head wobble. So you're definitely taking a chance with spiders. I can tell you, some people are really against spiders. It really depends on your experience. But yeah, if you make some really beautiful ones that don't have any head wobble, they can be really stunning. As a matter of fact, if you go to Morph Market, one of the most popular combos is a spider combo, which is pretty interesting. Spider is overpowering. Yeah, I'd say it's similar to the bamboo, where it can be really visually dominant. Would you pair it to a lesser ghost? Good question. One of my favorite ghosts is actually working a dark gene indigo. So if you actually made like a GHI ghost or like a blackhead ghost, it actually comes out is like a steel gray color. Pretty awesome. So I'd probably do like a blackhead, maybe like something in the blue-eyed leucistic, like a blackhead Mojave het ghost. That way you make some gray snakes with the ghost and the blackhead. You'd also make some white snakes with a lesser Mojave, which would be pretty awesome. Have you ever produced or seen a GHI Mojave spot nose yellow belly? No, I have not, but I would think it'd be pretty interesting because the GHI Mojave is usually a really almost a black snake sometimes with the really like the bright spots or almost like lines down the top. If you actually added yellow belly, it could really brighten up those lines on the top. The spot nose is pretty interesting too, because that would kind of, I'm not sure how the spot nose would react, because that really jumbles up the pattern, could really enhance the colors on that combination too with the spot nose. I'm getting a scaleless head Enchi soon for scaleless banana Enchi. Yes, scaleless. It seems like scaleless heads were really super popular. Everyone was getting into the scaleless heads. And for some reason, it seems like a lot of people got out of them. Now it's not as popular as it once was, which is actually good for the project because it keeps the prices a little bit higher. I mean, the completely scaleless, I think they're still selling for thousands of dollars, which is pretty wild. Let's see. Do you like the Super Orange Dream Enchi? Yes, Super Orange Dream goes good with anything. Super Orange Dream is super bright. It depends on the version of the Super Orange Dream. Some of them are really super bright. There are actually high intensity lines of the Super Orange Dream, which a lot of times they can sell for a lot more than the regular Orange Dreams. Have you ever had any hatchlings with shark mouth? Nope, have not had any genetic defects. I've had no kinking, no head wobble, no shark mouth, anything like that. I did have a few hatchlings that the only bad thing I had is where a hatchling was attached to a yolk sac and it actually pulled away from it and just kind of like gutted the ball python and it died coming out of the egg. That's the only weird thing that I really had as far as genetic defects. I've had some that were really super small. I think maybe they were twins and one of the twins died and they just came out with like a really big mass on one side of the egg, and one came out like a quarter of the size of a regular hatchling, like super small, but they all thrived. But as far as, you know, genetic defects, I really haven't had anything like that. I've had a few maybe with slightly bigger eyes, maybe slight bug eyes, but nothing really like sticking way out there like you'd see in some of the pictures. What do I pair with my cinnamon pie? Good question. So, yeah, so the real question is cinnamon the same as black pastel, which some people think, if you actually look at the super cinnamons versus super black pastels, some people think they're kind of the same. So it'd be kind of interesting to take that and read it. As a matter of fact, I've actually heard kind of through the grapevine that the super cinnamons are kind of susceptible to genetic defects like the kinking and the bug, the kind of the weird shaped mouth, and the super black pastels are. But I've heard if you actually take a cinnamon, breed it to a black pastel, you get two completely different lines of what some people think are really similar genes. You'll actually have fewer genetic defects. So what I would actually do is I'd take your cinnamon pie, breed it to a black pastel pie, and you could get, potentially you could get some panda pies that have fewer genetic defects than the super black pastel panda pies. That's probably what I would do with that one. Yeah, so let's see. My favorite morph right now is the Hypo DJI Mojave Gray Snake. Yeah, so that would be pretty wild. DJI Mojave with ghosts. You basically have a dark snake, you mix in with ghosts, and it'd be a gray, like a steel gray DJI Mojave. That's kind of awesome right there. Huh. What would you pair to a vanilla lesser hat TSK? Yeah, so TSK Axanthic. Oh yeah, so that's interesting. So TSK Axanthic, I think, makes the TSK Axanthic line, I think, is one of the best lines of Axanthic. And what I would actually do with that, one of the best Axanthic combinations I've seen is actually if you mix fire and pastel into the Axanthic, you get a really super black and white snake, and then you have vanilla in there. What I would actually do is breed it to another vanilla and get the super vanilla, which is really a crazy pattern enhancing gene. So if you could actually have the super vanilla pastel fire TSK Axanthic, that would be like a black and white snake with a really super crazy pattern that would be really clean and bright, which I think would be an amazing combination. Well, would you ever crossbreed with a retic? Nah, I probably wouldn't do hybrids if you cross species. I thought about taking a Ball Python, breeding it to a Woma, an Australian Woma Python, and I decided against doing hybrids. I think it kind of muddies the water when you go down the hybrid road. Let's see. Do I have plans on breeding dwarf retics? No, no, not gonna breed dwarf retics. I'll probably try to breed my reticulated pythons. So I actually have one that is they're actually both dwarf, but not super dwarf. Yeah, dwarf. They're dwarf, and Lucy's 100 pounds. a really big dwarf. She's like 50% dwarf. So yeah, she is really big. Let's see. I got my Boll Python from PetSmart. I know it's not recommended to get pets there, but it's such an awesome snake. Yeah, so yeah, no reason why you shouldn't get a snake from PetSmart if it looks good. So the one thing I have pretty much, I think most people have against like PetSmart and Petco is that they'll get hatchling ball pythons, and they have a policy where they can't feed that snake live mouse hoppers, and they get the snakes in sometimes so small that the only thing that they'll eat is a live mouse hopper. And sometimes you'll see them just get thinner and thinner and thinner because basically it's against their policy to feed that snake what it actually needs to eat. And I think it really comes down to the breeder's fault. The breeder should not be selling snakes that small. They should wait until it has like 10 meals. I think the snake should be like 3 or 4 times as big before they sell them to these chain stores get them on a really solid diet of frozen thawed rats before you sell it to some of the PetSmarts and the Petcos. I think that's the problem. Let's see. Male, lesser bee, orange dream. What would be great female to mate with? Yeah, so lesser bee, orange dream. That's an interesting combination. So when you mix the lesser with the spider, a lot of times you'll come out with kind of an axanthic looking snake. So it'd be interesting with the orange dream, how much color you're actually getting from the orange dream. I would actually breed that with another orange dream to kind of isolate the orange dream and then separate it so you can get the super orange dream in a brighter snake with maybe the spider. So you could do like a pastel fire orange dream and then breed that. That's probably what I would go for. Get some of your really bright colors out of that. Should I ever try to get substrate out of my snake's mouth? So I have actually tried to get, if they have a lot of substrate hanging out, sometimes I'll actually pull it out of the side. But if they have it like deep in their mouth, a lot of times I won't try to get it out just because I'm afraid of hurting their mouth. As far as the substrate, I found that it seems like aspen gets stuck in their mouth more than a coconut husk substrate. So that's one of the reasons I went over to the coconut husk chips and got away from aspen, because it seemed like the aspen was always getting stuck in the mouth of the snakes, which was very frustrating. All right, you like Bobby, you love the videos. All right, thank you. All right, let's see. What should I pair with my Mojave with? A bamboo or a butter? Good question. So Mojave is in the blue-eyed leucistic. Bamboo is also in the blue-eyed leucistic. So I would think if you bred it with the bamboo, you could probably get a little bit more money for the bamboo Mojave just because the bamboo's in there. The Mojave butter, keep in mind the butter is pretty much exactly the same as the lesser, just most people consider the butter to be the same as the lesser, and the lesser Mojave a lot of people consider to be the ideal blue-eyed leucistic as far as having the most white, the brightest white, and the perfect size eyes. You won't get the small eyes or the bug eyes. I actually have, as a matter of fact, I have a bamboo lesser that has slightly smaller eyes than normal, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know if you get the same effect with the Mojave bamboo, if you could potentially get slightly smaller eyes, like the micro eyes on that one. But I'd say if you're going for, and sometimes with my lesser bamboos, you'll actually see a really slight yellow line down the top of the snakes, where I don't think you'd actually get that if you took the Mojave and bred it with the butter. So if you're looking for pretty much the perfect blue-eyed leucistic, I'd probably do the Mojave with the butter on that one. All right, let's see. Ball Python came from a rescue. Huh, interesting. She's a sweetheart. Nice. Let's see. Are my comments coming through? Yes. I've actually been skipping through some of the comments because there's so many. So I might have skipped you a few times. Sorry about that. Yeah, I used to try to hit all the comments, but yeah. So every now and then now, like I skip over 20 of them because there's just so many comments. There's still 77 people. We have 8 minutes left on the live stream for 3 hours. All right. How many times have you had to take a ball python to a vet? Only once. It actually had something going on with the had like a big plug right in the navel cavity, which needed to be removed, and then it needed stitches, which is pretty wild. Let's see. Let's see. I watched one of your videos and ended up watching them all over time. If you watch all my videos, I have like 1,200 videos. Yeah, it'll take you like, how many of you watched all my videos 8 hours a day back to back? It would take you months to watch them all. That's a lot of videos. Some of the earlier ones, yeah, they're pretty rough. Had had some fun making videos over the years, though. Do you think axanthic sunset would show red? Good question. Axanthics reduce yellow. I'm not sure if that would be red or not from an axanthic sunset. Yeah, sunsets. Yeah, some of those sunsets can be really red. It's pretty interesting. Let's see. Best advice for an experienced keeper but wants to become a ball python breeder. Yeah, just get a male and a female, throw them in the tub, and just yeah. So it's not really that hard. Just kind of throw them together. You want to make sure you have the right weights and the right ages. So you want your females at least 1,500 grams. You want your males at least 2 years old, I'd say. And just make sure your females try to get your females eating really good before you pair them up if you can. That's usually the thing. As a matter of fact, last year I paired up some of my stubborn females, and it seemed like even though they were off food, a lot of the ones that as soon as I paired them up, they actually, just the process of pairing them, they actually went back on food. So this year I might not be so picky about if my females are eating or not. I might just look at the body condition of the females to determine if I'm going to pair them up or not. What genes can I work into my panda to make them lower white without washing the black out? So yeah, so the only thing I can think of is Enchi. I think you could work Enchi into a panda pie to well, no, wait, you want to make them lower white? Yeah, lower white. Yeah, because they're all high white. Panda pies, I'd say most of the panda pies are like 80, 90%, 100% white. So the only thing I can think of to really change that is Enchi. It's the only thing I can think of that could potentially. I haven't actually seen one to see if it would wash out the color or not, but I wouldn't think it would on that one. Sometimes the Enchis can brighten a little bit. It really depends on the version of the Enchi too. So maybe get an Enchi that doesn't have a lot of bright color, maybe just a straight Enchi. So you know what version of the Enchi, and then try to work that into your project. That's probably what I would do. How rare is it for an adult ball python to die? That's a good question. I don't think we really know how old ball pythons can actually get. As a matter of fact, I would dare say if you ask some of these big breeders how many ball pythons have actually died, I bet there would be very few. Let me tell you, my collection over the last 6 years, I've only had one snake die, and it was weird. It was actually an all-white snake. I think it was like a lesser pied combination or something. And I was just going through checking the tubs, opened it up, and I was actually shocked that it was dead, which is really unusual. I think, and it wasn't really an old snake either, so it did not die of old age. So I think they can live a really long time. And as far as snakes dying, it's extremely rare. The only snakes that really die in a collection are like new hatchlings where there's something wrong with the hatchling. They just won't eat, or you know, there's some kind of genetic defect, or they die in the egg or something like that. But usually a well-started ball python, I think they can live longer than you. I think they can live a really long time. So I think the record is like 62 years or something on a ball python. They are pretty tough. What's your recommended weight of a snake before trying to pair? Females, 1,500 grams. I'd say males, I would just say males, you just want them at least 2 years old. Most people would say at least 500 grams, but after 2 years, they'll be over 500 grams. Greetings, Lord Hardwick. What is up? Hamza. Cole Wood, thoughts on the puzzle gene? Yeah, so puzzle's pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, the puzzle might be one I might put into my triple recessive project. That might be an affordable option to the monsoon. I'd love to do the monsoon, but I don't know if I could afford it. Yeah, puzzle. That would be pretty interesting. It's interesting if you actually look at the puzzle, because some puzzles look really similar to normals as far as the color with just kind of a changed pattern. Sometimes they can be a little bit brighter, but the power of the puzzle is when you start working other genes into it, you get some really crazy combinations. I say it's kind of like the clown gene. When you work other genes into it, it really just really explodes with other genes. And it's a pretty high-end gene too still. I think I haven't looked up the prices of puzzles lately, but it's still, I would think it's still pretty expensive. When you're line breeding, would there be less issues with sibling or parent to offspring? So yeah, so I don't think, most people would say it's okay to line breed or inbreed ball pythons, although a lot of veterinarians would disagree. But a lot of times you just have to. And I don't think it really matters if you're breeding sibling to sibling or sibling to parents. You know, sometimes you get certain genes or like new genes or something like that, and you just absolutely have to. If you're working on like triple hets or quadruple hets, you don't really have a choice other than breeding the sibling to the sibling, because it's pretty much the only one in the whole world sometimes, and you just can't get that snake anywhere else. Let's see, female, 3 years now and over 1,500. That's pretty typical, I'd say. You know, they can get pretty picky. I'd say over 3 years, they kind of go on and off being picky, and they'll eat a lot, and then they'll just fast and be really picky. Yeah, so yeah, 3 years, I'd say over 1,500 grams is perfect for your females. Is it common for a hatchling to refuse food even after it's had several meals? Yes. So when it comes to hatchlings, usually what I do is I'll start on live mouse hoppers, and then I'll kind of transition into the frozen thawed mice, and then I'll transition into the frozen thawed rat. And if at any point they absolutely refuse food, like if you're all the way up to rats and they're eating rat after rat, and then they just refuse food for like 2 months or something crazy like that, and it's still just a few hundred grams, what you really need to do is you need to go back to the frozen thawed mice and kind of backtrack a step, get them on the frozen thawed mice, and then try to transition again over to the frozen thawed rats. And if they still won't take a frozen thawed mouse, what you have to do is you have to go back to the live mice and start all over at the very beginning, and then go through the whole transition again. Sometimes they can get kind of stuck at one point, and then you have to kind of backtrack to something else. All right, so we're past 3 hours, 1 minute. Still have 76 people. Let's see. So had it for a month and a half, eating 3 or 4 meals. Yeah, so it depends on how big it is. So if a female gets up to like 800, 700, 800, 900 grams, a lot of times they'll just go off of food. There's nothing you can do at that point. But if they're still just like 300 grams, 200 grams, and they're refusing food for like a whole month, yeah, you definitely have to switch it up and go to something else. Wait, who's that around your neck? This is Frosty. Frosty is my female pastel spider visual desert ghost. Look at how beautiful she is. She's a beautiful snake. Puzzles are 2,000 to 3,000. Yeah, nice. Yeah, so maybe I'll pick up a puzzle female hatchling and sit on it. Wait for my triple het project. Maybe that's the next one I should get, actually, instead of the confusion, because yeah, by the time that female's ready, like in 3 to 4 years to 5 years, I might actually finally produce my albino pied clown visual, which I want to breed to something like a puzzle to work on my quadruple hats, which would be pretty awesome. All right, so yeah, so look at that. I caught up with all the questions finally after 3 hours. It's interesting. After 3 hours, usually I can catch up with all the questions. So, what's the most expensive snake I sold? 1,500 is pretty much the most expensive. The most expensive I bought is 1,500. So, All right, so there you have it. That is 3 hours, 3 minutes, 70 people still on, 86 thumbs up, and thank you for the super chats. So I think I'm going to end it here. We'll do another live stream next Sunday at 3 p.m., 3 to 6. I'm going to go ride my Harley Davidson for a little bit. I like to head out right when the sun's going down so it doesn't shine in my eyes, and ride just for about a half an hour or so. It's like the perfect time of day. And then I'm going to clean some rats and mice and feed some snakes. Pretty much my normal routine here on a Sunday. So, all right, guys, thanks for coming along. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the questions, too. And I will see you in the next video. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'm actually going to do the reptile show video, which is pretty awesome. I actually went to the reptile show yesterday. I'll put out the video tomorrow. It was a pretty awesome show. All right, guys. See you later. Thanks for watching.